Sam, last week was
Yeah.
I had a taste of something that I've always wanted, and I blew it immediately.
What did you taste, Josiah?
For about 15 minutes between announcing it and then fucking it up, I had punk cred on the pod. I'm talking, of course, about
no.
we were shouted out in Razor Cake. We were bragging about it like crazy.
Yeah, horrible. Like real, like rude shit.
I was very finally the punks recognized me for what I am.
Well, yeah, because was it Prenup or Grown Ups that had been dissed by Razor Cake?
Yeah, Prenup had been. They've said that the lyrics reminded them of Vampire Weekend, which is actually a compliment.
A huge
Thank you
compliment.
very much.
And then
I
I said I was pretty sure that Razor Cake had dissed Junior Battles, and then I think later that night I found their 2010 review of our self-titled 7-inch on Square Up Records. Shout out friend of the pod Dan Forcier, where they described it as middling pop punk with bits of twang here and there.
It's not that mean, though. It's pretty nice.
I guess, but it's one of those things where, when you read a criticism of your band, like if someone is like, Prenup is like, Josiah's kind of a shithead, and you're like, well, okay, that's fine. But it's like when someone says the one thing I don't like about Prenup is all the Skrillex style breakdowns, and you're like, what? Yeah. There's not a lot of twang in Junior Battles. It's not even here nor there.
I was going to bring it up when he eventually came on the pod, but then he declined coming on the pod. But the singer from Piss Jeans runs probably one of the only good online sources for hardcore and hip punk and hip techno reviews at yellowgreenred.com. And he updates once a month, and I don't know if anyone even reads it or what, but it's so interesting. But he reviewed the first Grown Up 7-inch and said that our energy would be better spent investing more time at Food Not Bombs. And I was like, what? I get it if you don't like it, but what? So that was one of those scenarios where I was like, what the fuck? But anyways, yeah, so after all these years of...
We're finally punk.
We're finally appreciated by the punkers.
With our Blink-182 podcast.
I know, of all the things, right? The Lord works in mysterious ways. I've been saying this to you the whole time.
Yeah.
But, so we've made it. The punks appreciate us. We finally are getting invited to all kinds of shit. People are sending us merch. We're like punk influencers. And then probably 10 or 15 minutes later on the podcast, and I said that the band Inepsy was from Ottawa. Yeah. And they're from Montreal.
In a conversation about how punk Ottawa is and how they you but don't like me because you're the right kind of punk. You then immediately stepped into the wrong kind of punk.
There's quite a few things to say. For one thing, you didn't immediately correct me with your encyclopedic knowledge of punk as a published punk author.
I have stayed. I've been untouched by Inepsy Gate, which is incredible. So, despite the fact that, I if I think about it for 2 seconds, I know that. But you said it with such authority, and I respect you.
I don't know
I just
why.
let it fly.
Someone said maybe I was thinking of Germ Attack. That could be true. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but people with charged hair generally make very similar and confusingly aesthetically similar music. So it's pretty straight up to be able to mix them up. But I don't know if it was because of that or if because I was just generally thinking of that area of the geographical map. I mean, that's only 2 hours away. They may as well be from Ottawa, all I'm concerned.
In terms of the distance between Calgary and Ottawa, and then Calgary and Montreal, as expressed as a percentage of that distance, it's a rounding error for you.
Exactly. And also, I've seen Inepsy before, twice at least, maybe even more. I think I even owned some of their records. I mean...
Did you see them in Ottawa? Is that kind of the problem?
No, I'm trying to think. I think I was talking to someone about them in Ottawa when we played there. Or maybe I bought a zine that had... Or maybe I'm just thinking...
This is the most we've ever apologized for anything on this podcast.
It's because I literally can't go 5 seconds without someone correcting me about Inepsy, and I'm like, look,
wait,
I
what?
even
Inepsy?
knew this.
Now you're saying the name weird?
Yeah, and I say every word wrong, and people jokingly say something about that, but I'm about to be canceled. for getting this wrong.
I think
I'm the one, the real person who's suffering from ineptcy is me, because I'm being so inept. But no,
Christ.
where I did see ineptcy the first time was a very, very pretentious place. I saw them at Market Hotel in Brooklyn with Fucked Up for the Chemistry of Common Life tour, and also Vivian Girls opened I think it was the only show ever that Ben Cook played guitar in the band. So it's a very, I mostly, like, I was at the Venn diagram where it was like Scion indie and Montreal D-Beat.
When you say Scion, you don't mean like Scions of indie, like, you know, like Thurston Moore's and Kim Gordon's kid or something. You mean literally like the Toyota Scion.
Well, those two things are basically interchangeable at this
right.
point.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, the specific type of music that was championed by the car company Toyota through their millennial brand Scion.
But I will say this too. Throughout Ineptcy Gate, and now you're making me paranoid about how to pronounce it, and I don't even want to imagine how Quebecois people pronounce it.
Well, I feel like you're saying it like, they said Ineptcy. I don't know. They're fucking...
Well, you definitely didn't know where they're from because you didn't correct me.
Look, you didn't know either. Neither of us know.
I did. The thing is, I did know, and I just forgot, okay? I just fucked up one thing, and I'm sorry.
It's just like a weird reminder of... Do you remember at the live show that we did when you were here in Toronto? And there was like a table of like true punks kind of towards the back, and we had sort of promised that we were going to do our little live show and then do Adam songs, which was just like all Adam song covers. And then we kind of like didn't really do that. We just sort of put on like a pop punk playlist because it just seemed like more the vibe, and people were just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, and that's really a testament to your sort of empathy and care for other people, because I would gladly have just played even just the original Adam song on repeat for like 7 hours.
Over again.
But you were like, "Oh, I'm reading the room," and I'm like, "What? No, let's make these people feel bad inside."
Right. And so at some point, as the crowd was kind of thinning out, these guys like kind of called me over to the table, and they're like, why are you not playing all of the Adam song covers? And they were like the punkest people in the bar. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, and they had, I think a few of them had driven from Montreal. Maybe that was Ineptcy.
Maybe it was.
Is Ineptcy part of the nation?
Possibly. But what I was going to say was, there's been people like sheepishly messaging me being like, that's so funny that you didn't know where they're from. Anyways, haven't they been around since the 80s or something? And I'm like, no, they have not. This is like Deranged Records wave. I know they're not on Deranged Records. Don't freak out. But it's like that wave of like...
Yeah, they look like they're from the 80s.
Sixth
That's
wave
the point.
D-beat or whatever. Like no one knows shit about Ineptcy. So if anything, I've uncovered this lack of knowledge about Ottawa's best D-beat band through my intentional flub, and I just did it again to make sure you're still listening, baby.
Wow, just keeping everybody on their toes, huh?
But it just made me think too how people like complain that we get trivia wrong about Blink-182, and everything about punk is just trivia.
That's like true, eh? It's all about like who has think about like how much esoteric knowledge. Yeah.
Like think about how much Damien loves punk and wrestling, and they're interchangeable. It's because all it is just like knowing stats. Yeah. Basically.
It's always been like the thing that made me feel like a total failure. Like even in like having written a book about punk for those kinds of punks, people will come up and try to talk to me about stuff like real punk stuff, like pressings of records. I'm like, this is not. I never was this true. It was never this for me. So we're just.
Anyways, let's talk about the song "Violence." I haven't been sleeping. I was like just about to start charging my hair and studding my vests. As soon as the razor cake thing happened, I was like, I can finally start dressing like a member of the Casualties. And then I quickly was deflated, and now I'm just back to being an online irony boy, my prison that I've been trapped in this whole time.
Aren't the Casualties canceled, or is that another one of those bands?
Yeah, I know they're canceled.
Oh, okay, cool. So,
but I think they got a different singer now or something.
And they're not canceled?
Well, I mean, they should have always been canceled because they're fucking awful.
Damn, dude, I'm putting this in the episode. You're gonna have all the,
I know.
Who knows how many Casualties fans listen to this podcast?
Probably so many.
I know, it's astonishing. So
imagine being a fan of something.
It's funny because I think I expressed to you before we started recording that the conversation that's going to happen later in the podcast is was
with an Australian.
With an Australian, yeah. A conversation with an Australian.
New lows. We're reaching new lows on this episode.
The name of my horror film. But that so much of it, is about sort of these projects where you kind of dig into your passions. And then I realized this isn't a passion for us. We don't like any of this.
Our passion is talking about ourselves and eventually making bad jokes that we wouldn't have the courage to put anywhere else because they're so stupid. But we've created this sort of safe enclosure
it's true.
where we can say awful jokes that are so poorly thought out that people are like, oh, I celebrate this.
It's funny. It's funny because it's not even that like Blink-155 is not a podcast about Blink-182, and that it is a podcast about like friendship or nostalgia or like punk culture. It's literally a podcast about us, but not our relationship to each other or like it's about my relationship with me and your relationship to you, and like however we can sort of like
we're just filling the time. It's literally just filling the time.
Oh man! So the song.
So Sam, you go first for once.
Okay.
Because I already know what you think, I'm pretty sure.
This song is so fucking good, and it shouldn't be good. Like, I listened to it a bunch of times before we started recording. I was folding my laundry, just rocking in my bedroom, just to really paint the picture. And, like, when you really sit and listen to this song while you neatly fold your t-shirts, while you launder, nothing about this should work. The lyrics are so incredibly... They're stupid. I like, they're fucking stupid lyrics. The sound of it is like... This is real, like, trying to be Fugazi, but, like, not understanding how to do it, and instead doing this, like this sort of, like, funky, bouncy verse stuff. Like, it all feels like it should add up to a colossal mistake. And instead... It's a standard on this record. I think it's like the best example of Blink flexing outside of the sort of foundation they've created for themselves and doing something like honestly remarkable. It's also, as I told you before, like literally, I think the only Blink song that Ashley likes, and I'm going to confirm with her. Ashley? Yeah? What is your take on the song Violence by Blink-182? She likes it. So, there's something about this song that even cuts through the most cynical of the wives of the pod amongst us. Like, I can't believe how many weird decisions have been made to create, like, an incredible, like, piece of music. That's honestly how I feel.
Yeah, I knew that you were going to do the wife thing, because despite... what we say otherwise, this is a meticulously planned project.
Yeah. Well, because I told you today, I was like, Ashley likes this song.
And so I asked my wife, Sarah, with no H, for those keeping track.
Yeah.
I asked her what she thinks, and her take is exactly the same as mine, which is like, on first thought, you're like, that's a good song, but then you're like, wait a minute, no, it's fucking horrible, and I hate it. And I really don't like this song at all.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't like it. And also, like, I remember, I think this was like leaked on their website or released, like, I'm pretty sure before I Miss You. This is the kind of thing that people get frustrated when we don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, who fucking cares? I want to figure out why you don't like the song. This is the first time we've disagreed, I feel like, in like 91 episodes.
But I'm pretty sure, based on everything that's coming up, you're not going to like it by the end. I'm pretty sure.
No. You can play as many Matt Skiba live videos as you want, and like I will stand strong.
Did you say stand or stan?
I wish I said the latter, but I said the former.
I'm very glad that you didn't, because then we're already on thin ice here, and if you started saying stan, I was gonna freak out. I was gonna have a breakdown.
Sorry, man.
I feel like Violence though is okay. I must be wrong. No, maybe not. Okay, maybe it wasn't
You've
a single,
never been
but
wrong.
I feel like this was the second song that I heard from it. So I heard Feeling This when I wrote on the permanent marker at the bakery at the grocery store. I think I talked about that on here. And then I was like, damn, this is really cool and interesting. And then I heard this one and I was like, oh, wow, experimenting with pop punk is a very bad idea and should not be done. Like, to me, this song sounds like what the new Blink-182 album is going to sound like.
No,
it's like they're just trying to do so much shit at once, and it's like, but they don't have taste or cohesion, and they don't know what they're doing. And like, I hate the clicking drum thing that sounds like West Side Story, like finger snapping. Kinda.
Oh my God, so
and I'm
good.
sure that's why you love it.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a taste
really like
of the
like
streets, man.
I don't like the spoken word thing, and the main thing I don't like, and this is again just like really stupid because I didn't look at the chord chart, I didn't look at the tabs, but to me, the chord progression sounds like Tom is trying to experiment with the regular chord progression, but the second to last chord is once again not fitting into the scale in a way that makes it sound dissonant, but in like a gross, bad alternative rock way. And I suspect it's either because he's too stupid to know what he's doing, or it's because the guy from Failure is in it. Because since the last time we talked about Failure, I've tried to get into them, and I can't do it because it's similarly like kind of dissonant in this alt rock way that I don't like. And he worked on this song as well as Down.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Like,
or maybe it was Obvious. I can't remember. No one get mad at me, please.
like what happened? Where did the fearless Josiah that everyone fell in love with go? Like what?
It's because I'm willing to fly too close to the sun with everything, but as soon as I accidentally make the punks mad, then I've got nowhere left to go.
Right. You've already alienated everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. For some reason, I've been stringing them along this whole time that I kind of know what I'm talking about because I'm able to say the word Kriegshog and pretend that I know who they are, even though I think I just had one of their 7 inches or something. I don't know.
Sick. So
I had a Crazy Spirit tape, so I just like pretend that I'm in with them.
You're like, I'm down. I understand what you're saying about how this is very likely going to be what the new record sounds like. You know, it's just like it's Steve Aoki and blast beats, but this just feels like the genuine product of a more innocent incarnation of the band that was cognizant of the like commercial pressure that was on them, kind of following these like gigantic albums and hit singles, but it was like much more of a like we have nothing to lose approach to it, as opposed to what I think is now like a very calculated attempt to find new ways to just be interesting. Like, and
I
that's
totally
where
agree.
I don't think they're failing to do all the things they think they're doing in this song. Like the constant wow 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 wow, like it's so Fugazi, but it doesn't sound like it at all. And they're like, is it supposed to be hip hop? Like, what the fuck are they trying to do? It doesn't sound like that.
That's what I personally think that this song, instead of being what I remember as the second song I heard from the album, I think that instead of that, this should have been a B-side on a single and not released anywhere else. And then it would be like this fun fan favorite. But I think that it's like, this sounds like a rough draft for the other very, very high, amazing moments on the album.
No, this to me is like what works about this record. Like when I think about this song, I think of like what they were able to achieve on this album. It's like, it's so dumb that it's amazing. Like I know we're not talking about the lyrics yet, but I need to do like.
No, let's do it because I'm gonna hang up on you if we keep in this zone.
I just want to talk about the one lyric, but it's fine. I guess we'll get there. I'm sure you have some horrible journey like expressly designed to crush my joy. Like, to me, it's nice that like we're 91 songs into this and I'm like genuinely excited about like a song that is corny.
Well,
instead of being like too cool for it or just exhausted by this. And
with all due respect, you being genuinely excited about a song that is corny is not much of a surprise.
I don't understand what you're talking about. I am the cool one. I know where Inepsy is from. You're the nerd. You're like the
you
sincere
correct me.
dork.
You could have got if you had done that, I would have said, Sam, let's stop the tape right now. And we're going to take that again. We're not going to leave it in. I know we've talked about transparency. We're going to stop the tape. We're going to rewind. We're going to do the whole line again, and we're going to double check it so that you can maintain your cred.
Yeah, but that's because you're the nice one, and I'm like,
our whole identities are all fucked up because
I don't know.
Because also you like this. Like this is Violence is basically an Imagine Dragons song, to be honest.
And this is what I respect about what Imagine Dragons is trying to do. The difference is like the hooks. I love the Thunder song, but. Maybe I haven't spent enough time with Imagine Dragons. I don't know.
Yeah, careful.
I like this so much that I'm willing to like say whatever you need me to say to sort of comfortably stay on my side of this argument. Imagine Dragons rocks ass. Great, let's go.
So what's the line that you think? Wait, does the line save the song, or it's just like to you important? What's the line?
The line it reminds me of a really tough time that I had once.
Yeah, me too. Listening to this goddamn song.
Right. So the song, to me, it's like a heat check. Like the chorus of the song has what is unquestionably the worst lyric on this album, and a top 5 worst Blink lyric of all time. Yeah. And yet, not only does it not ruin the song, it's that it works, like that it doesn't somehow destroy what has come before and then it comes after, is just like a testament to this incredible magic trick of what should be, if I was like not as smart as I am, what I might interpret as being a bad song. And that line is, like violence, you kill me. Like, it's just like the opposite. Like, I was thinking about, like, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Of course, our friend, the Bard, that we love to reference. Yeah. Like, the idea that, we're inundated through various art forms with... and various art forms and the songs of Mark Hoppus with like, these over the top attempts to conjure, just imagery to sort of bring to light the complexities of the human spirit and of our emotions that are it's something that we've struggled to do for so long. Like, it's not like we figured out how to describe love or sadness. We're still finding new ways to sort of to plumb the depths of those emotions and find new truths. And inside of that ongoing quest to understand the human condition, Tom wrote a chorus, and he says this several times throughout the song. Like it's not like a throwaway line in the bridge. He was like, you know what this person is? They're honestly they're like violence because they kill me in the way that the act of violence does.
Okay, so in that sense, perhaps the way that you said this is sort of and I think this is your favorite way to describe songs that are either not great or just sort of early on. You love to describe them as like a sign of what was to come. And you've sort of said that this is them really flexing their muscles as experimenters for the first time in this way. And so I think maybe this song is kind of a precursor for Los Angeles because it's a bad piece of shit that sounds like a musical.
Fuck
and
off.
B,
sure,
but B, maybe
fine,
it's also
fine. I'll agree. That's cool.
Look, and also like me liking or hating a song doesn't make a difference because it's still going to be the same episode. Like the thing about me is that my taste is full horseshoe theory in that whether I love something or hate it, I'm experiencing it in the same way.
But it is interesting because you have not. As you've sort of become totally unmoored from just traditional notions of taste and your own like personal taste, I feel like you haven't felt comfortable coming out and calling something shitty in like at least a few episodes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I guess maybe it's because I just have history with this one.
I think
of
that's
hearing
it,
after
yeah.
feeling this and just being kind of like, what the fuck am I listening to? Like, it sounds like a Zooropa B-side also from U2.
Yo,
But
honestly, the best U2 album.
This is also, in a good way, kind of the early signs of like extremely dumb smart Tom. Like when he does those
Yeah.
songs that sound like no age lyrics have gone through Google Translate or whatever. Like I agree with you in the sense that these lines, and it's not just that line, because actually the lines surrounding it, even in the chorus, are so much dumber than that one line. That's the only one that almost makes sense. But he is expressing something through such pure stupidity, where he thinks that he's so smart. Also, it's like entry level, like grade 6 poetry class smart. The teacher's like, okay, we're gonna learn about similes today. And then
yeah.
he's like, okay, what if I say that someone kills me like violence? And the teacher's like, oh god, I really want to go for a smoke. Yeah, okay, you good.
Yeah.
You pass.
That's fine. Go to French class now.
So I think like this is the start of Tom sort of like deconstructing what it means to write lyrics for a pop song, but only half deconstructing them, to the point where it's like you can tell he's still trying to make like a cohesive pop song, but he's only like half deconstructed it. So like it just gives you this sort of lobotomized feeling when you read it. But especially like Violence You Kill Me, okay, that is insanely stupid, but it still makes sense. But like Violence You Have Me, and also to say forever and after instead of forever and ever, it's just like, it's insane. It's like he's taking individual lines and trying to subvert them one at a time so that they seem sort of like Banksy-ish or Adbusters-y.
This
Instead
is
of forever and ever, what if it was
Exit Through the
forever
Gift
and
Shop.
after?
Yeah. I mean, I would be willing to believe that the line that he was always trying to get to was like Violence You Kill Me, and that in that sense almost the forever and after makes sense, because it's like you just I'm dead and you keep killing me. But then he's
Maybe it's like a precursor to like modern internet lingo of seeing something funny and being like, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like it's like maybe he's talking about a meme actually.
yeah, that's it. This song is literally me. This song is actually written by the like members of like Something Awful Forum or whatever.
Well, once again, when you read his actual intentions, I don't know if you've read this quote yet from the liner notes of the album, but it's just an incredibly smart man behind these thoughts. Tom DeLonge says, "I thought of one thing in my head, a scenario of a bar late at night when a pretty female
of a bad dream of a jury."
Yeah, basically. No, this is what he says. I thought of one thing in my head, a scenario of a bar late at night.
Why would you say it like that?
When a pretty female walks into the building during a fast-paced hardcore dance song. I thought of every guy in that room looking at her and lusting after her, each one not paying attention to any detail present except her. What? Yeah, like even this paragraph is like completely fucked.
What? Why the hardcore during a fast-paced hardcore dance song? Like, why
does that mean?
What is the imagery
was at like
running through this man's head?
He was at a gabber night, and there was
Oh yeah, he was in North England, just
like what the fuck? Yeah, like I thought of one thing in my head, a scenario of a bar late at night. So first of all, for some reason, saying a scenario of a bar late at night when a pretty female walks into the building, I'm already thinking of like Beck Bennett on the same shitty bar set that they use in every SNL sketch. Like already this scenario that he's painting is a sketch that's probably going to end in a dance number.
right. Yeah. Somehow there's also like a gay panic joke in there, and you're like, what? How?
Yeah, exactly.
Why'd that have to be there?
Well, that's pretty Blink as well.
It's in that sense their aesthetics mix well together. Just the phrasing of it, I thought of a scenario of a bar. Like, what is that? Who conjugates a sentence that way? Like that is honestly like a very troubling way of speaking. Or is that written out? Did he write that out? Did he think that writing it that way made him sound like clever?
And maybe he's just like not good with commas. Maybe he needed to use some M dashes. That usually saves everything.
I thought of one thing. Like I thought of
I
one
thought of
thing
one
in my
thing
head.
in my head.
My head
Here's
was
5
empty,
things.
and this one thought came in.
The one thing was
Gabber.
a bar, a pretty lady, and a bunch of guys, and also a song, and then also the guys are looking at her, and then that was all one thing.
Yeah. I like honestly, you mentioning Gabber has like ruined my night now. Like I'm just
Gabber is like the only good genre of music.
Dude, I completely agree. One of the last like proper big meaty This Exists episode was all about like extra tone, and so like kind of went through all of those unnecessarily speedy electronic music subgenres, but like a lot of them only exist online. But Gabber is this like just perfect subculture that is real, and I would do fucking anything to go to a Gabber party. Like,
oh my
if
God,
anyone
me
listening
too.
to this pod lives in like I don't know, like
Rotterdam, I think, is where you got to go.
Is that where it is? Yeah. In my mind, it's all
so.
North of England, but that's just like, it's like, does Blackpool have a
Well,
have
it
a
is,
Gabber
yeah, it's because
scene?
it's like you picture really cool track jackets is basically, and that's why the music is good. That's all that music needs to be good is
track
good jackets.
It's true. It is. I feel like so few people have accepted that, but it is at the core of all of music sort of greatest evolutions. Like, from say like what are the country jackets called? The really like like gorgeous ornate country jackets. Like,
oh, okay, yeah.
that's why country was good back then. Is because of the jackets.
Yeah, I think people used to say that it was like haircuts, but then I think
No.
MySpace sort of just like atomic bombed that whole notion.
Right.
And now you can really look at the jackets.
Yeah.
And know if something's good or not.
You know what's funny? I feel like this is, to address each other as opposed to only talking about ourselves for a moment. I don't think I've said this to you, Josiah, but I feel like every time we meet, I always think, damn, Josiah has great jackets.
Thank you.
You have really good jackets. And then I was trying to get a jacket sort of recently, and I was like expressing to Ashley like this type of jacket that I wanted. This was actually probably like a year, 2 years ago maybe. And now I could probably just say to her like, I kind of want a Josiah jacket, but like I wasn't comfortable expressing it. Like I was kind of like, I sort of want to look like Liam Gallagher. Like, I want it to go up really like
Yeah.
But really what I was saying is make me look like Josiah. And
Oh my God, I'm blushing over here.
I know. So, but that's because you have an innate understanding of jackets.
Yeah, I mean, that's just really it. I want people to know that I have good taste and that I know where ineptity is from based on my jackets.
Yeah.
So, and then Mark's quote about this, it does bring up maybe the reason why it reminds me of Los Angeles too, is that I do feel like it's not a skip for me because the bridge is so incredible.
Yeah. I mean,
And Mark just said something about the bridge. I don't know, some bullshit, some like boring non-quote that like whoever laid out this booklet should have just replaced all of these with what's it called, ipsum lorem or whatever.
yeah. just auto-generated placeholder text. TK, 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 TK.
Or the quick brown fox.
Yeah, the classics.
But yeah, the bridge is so good.
See, the song rocks. No, I feel like...
Did you learn about Mark's poem in here? That's a big thing.
No,
that people
I didn't
talk about.
learn about anything, dude.
Okay,
When have I ever
here.
come to one of these, like, having learned?
I went really deep again, really, really deep, which we're going to find out in a bit. But before we get to the poem, I want to just show you this. Like, this is where during my research I felt a pang, or a tinge
A pangy
of
tang.
depression.
Yeah, okay.
I just felt this dark wave of depression come over me because I found this on the Blink-182 Reddit.
Your favorite
submitted
website on the internet.
Well, this one's just particularly like, why am I so deep in here? This is from 4 years ago. It has 2 upvotes. And it's somebody saying, the user Silly Assassin, I've listened to both the explicit and clean versions of Blink's self-titled album, and on the explicit version, I've noticed that the song Violence has clicks during the verse. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but it's not on the clean version of the recording. Just like reading this, I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing with my time right now?
Is that true? Did you listen to it?
No, of course I didn't. I just saw this and was like, this is so depressing. I don't want to be one of these people. So anyways, somebody
I'm
4
sorry
years
to say,
ago,
man, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I know. That's what I mean. Don't say it. So somebody replied, and it's equally hilarious that what their username is. It's Anal Tyrant, They replied, just listen to the original track again. There's only the normal percussive click that recurs throughout several parts of the song. To be fair, I've only ever heard the original version at least a few hundred times, so the percussive clicks are normal to me. I don't know why they would be removed from the clean version. That's very strange. Thank you, anal tyrant.
Yeah. So kind for such a tyrant. Especially one so uptight. I wonder, because I had never interpreted the clicks as having like a West Side Story feel to them until you said it. But if that is maybe what they're trying to reference, it could just be that because
that's
like,
too explicit of a reference, because sometimes the word explicit doesn't necessarily mean cursing. It just means obvious. Right. So they're like, oh, this is explicitly a click track from a musical, and the clean version not only
is more implicit in the way that
exactly. Whenever if it doesn't have the explicit warning on it, then all of the content will be implicit instead.
Do you think that the explicit version could have like "violence, you kill me"? Like the chorus is just completely removed because they're like, sorry.
Oh yeah, the chorus is fine because it's so implicit and no one really gets what the fuck he's talking about. So it's fine.
I interpreted it as. Kind of what I was saying earlier, that the clicks are a taste of the streets. West Side Story is, of course, a harrowing, brutal depiction of two warring gangs on the rough and tumble streets of New York. And so for a listener who perhaps like lacked the emotional maturity to understand that West Side Story is just a musical and that the Sharks and the Jets are not real gangs that are going to come and snap at them on their way to school or what have you. That it could be a lot for a less educated or just like a less developed listener to sort of process the distinction between what is real and what is
these sort
I
of
want to be in America.
Extremely idiotic things that make me feel dumber, I think, are also the kind of things on the podcast that people think are philosophical, because really what we're saying is, what does explicit mean?
Oh, true.
And I think it means saying fuck and poo-poo.
Yeah, those are my favorite explicits, is poo-poo.
But the real thing I was going to say was, I guess there's like, and all these people, for some reason with this song, they just fucking listen to it on every kind of headphones. I found a thing that I didn't save the link of because there's no point in me playing it through a Skype call to you, but somebody had mixed the song in 8D. I don't even know what that means, but people are obsessed with the mix and the details of this song.
That's not real.
And so people have listened to every which way, and so they all know that there's a voice around the 2:30 mark of the song, and it's actually Mark Hoppus reading a poem.
Aww.
And so apparently, because this is the song that ends with the Stockholm Syndrome interlude. One of our classic episodes was on that song.
Honestly, it really is.
So I guess this was also related to that poem. I started saying the word poem funny because of the movie The Beach Bum.
Yeah. I'm hopefully going to see it this weekend.
I think you'll like it, because especially if you get really stoned beforehand. It seems like the kind of thing that like doesn't make sense to sober people fully.
Yeah.
Because I was like, where's the plot?
I'm enough of a like Harmony fanboy that I think I'll just like...
Yeah, it's like if he made like a Jim Carrey movie or something.
Amazing. Great.
Yeah. So anyways, there's a poem in here, and I guess Mark's never said what it actually is, but he's also said that this interpretation of it is wrong. But this is written everywhere, so the thing that people have written down that he says in the background of this song that, remember, is about a woman at a gabber bar. The poem is, a certain look in your eyes when you open your eyes. Who will stand by your side? So watch my eyes, watch 'em turn while you go change. Curtains down, when all their skill was cut and I bled. There were forces of John Jones. I can't make you happy. It seems all I ever do is try. You could never cut me deep enough to leave a scar. So take this gift. It's something to save, like violence. I think that those could be lyrics for like a 2005 wannabe Revelation Records like youth crew band.
Totally,
sort of like
yeah.
Like a Carry On ripoff kind of band.
Yeah, or like it could just as easily be transposed into the present day, and this could be like a Lad Dispute song.
Right.
Like if this is like the last song and it's called Forces of John Jones and a guy is just doing like a certain look in your eyes when you open your eyes and you're like, is this what the kids listen to?
But I think the main thing is that no one can figure out what Forces of John Jones means. So either it's like his private letters from his grandparents that he's turned into pop punk lyrics, or it's a misquote. So no one really knows what he's saying.
I don't know. It looks like there's an MMA fighter named John Jones, but he's only 31, so it's highly unlikely that he was referring to the force of the MMA of this John Jones.
He could have been talking about the pro skater Johnny Jones, who was on King of the Road.
That's cool.
But I don't know if he was even born yet when this came out. So maybe he was just he knew that he was coming and that he was going to be a sick skater.
You know how weird,
hard to say.
Weird it is? I was like, obviously Google John Jones, and then I clicked on this Twitter to see if this was maybe like another John Jones, Johnny Bones Jones, but it's the same guy. And then like, isn't it always a trip when you realize how many people you know like follow things like MMA fighters? Like, you're like, why do all these people I know need the tweets of like an MMA? Like I didn't know that was one of our shared interests. But
well, maybe he's good. Maybe he's one of those people who's like a really good tweeter, just even if you don't know about
right.
MMA.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well,
maybe he's like the Jose Canseco of. Maybe he has like a team writing
like
weird Twitter
drill
2005 style. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate when I can figure out that some weirdo freak has hired a marketing firm to like try to write more weirdo freak tweets instead of just being.
Are you talking about Norm right now? Why are you?
Yeah,
insulting?
Norm. No, I kind of think that Cher might be like that too. I think Cher has become self-aware.
That was a
little rhyme.
I know it was good.
I think that this song does benefit from live versions for sure.
Does it?
Especially, I'm very happy to revisit.
Oh yeah,
this is actually like my favorite because this is when they sound the most like, I will say it correctly, Fugazi, because I am respectful.
Damn.
Of Beto.
Yeah, that's right.
Beta.
This is the most capitalist of their of this moment.
But yeah, these AOL sessions they truly do sound like a local post-punk band. It sounds so shitty in such a good way. Mm-hmm. And I think they really kill it on the Violence one, so let's listen to it.
Hello, we are Blink-182. Welcome to Sessions at AOL.
So muddy. It sounds like Steve Albini produced this AOL session.
Maybe he did. Maybe they insisted on it.
There's a big famous Stars and Straps logo on the kick drum.
Classic Albini style.
Yeah, in this brief moment, you're like, okay, yeah, they're trying to be refused. I can see it.
It's like, especially like Tom with the like jet black hair hanging in front of his face. Like, it's extremely like the shape of enemas to come.
The way he's standing is like, it's truly angular.
Yeah.
I ask you to feel the same. Still pushing that chance to try. Your breath in this cool and chill. Wrong hand both side to side. You speak, make time stand still. Each time walk right on by.
Kind of like it.
Exactly, dude. If you saw this band play at like, you know, if the Hand played after this band, like you would have been fucking obsessed with it. It's so good and it's so like, it's so interesting.
If the Hand played with them, I would have been in the parking lot with my friends being a huge snob the whole time.
Right.
Just having a lot of fun, not watching other bands. So
okay, I meant that sort of figuratively as opposed to, I guess, literally drinking in the van. Just the idea, like what you kind of said of like so clearly wanting to be refused. I think it's so interesting to see a band at this stage in their career so plainly have had a new influence come into their lives that like transformed how they wanted to approach writing music. Like normally by this stage in your career, like you're making adjustments, you're trying to stay current, you know, you're obviously trying to sort of stay creatively engaged yourself, but it's so rare that you would see such a like shift that isn't also like they're not leading in a lot of ways. Like I think they end up accidentally leading, but it's like, yeah, he like looks like he's trying to be in Refused.
He looks like he's trying to be Swedish or whatever.
Yeah, but
are they Swedish?
Yeah, right. Jesus Christ.
Are they Gabber?
Yeah, Refused or Gabber. This is gonna be worse. Me fucking up where Refused is from is like so much worse than the Inepsy thing. But they definitely like.
They're from Ottawa.
yeah, exactly. It's just like watching them try to be a thing that they are incapable of doing, like fundamentally incapable of.
Maybe this is the problem with Refused, is that they were so easily imitable that they sort of, that's why they had to like become this awful, terrible thing. And there's no way that anyone actually liked the new Refused album. I refuse to believe it.
So bad, dude.
So I think what happened was like Refused came out and had everything was too perfect that it was like a costume that everyone was able to rip off. And then they're like, well, fuck, all we can do now is become like a really, really bad local prog rock band. Because what else are we supposed to do?
Yeah, there's nowhere else to go.
The Refused formula, it was like they accidentally made it too perfect of a formula.
The
so
Refused party program, if you will. Do you like Refused? I'm sure we've somewhere in the last.
Yeah, no, I don't. But I definitely kind of did at the time. I think I liked stuff in that world more than that. Like, stuff that was more edgy. Like to me, they seemed like the Blink-182 of white belt stuff or something.
That's fair. I mean, I obviously love them, but there's some truth to that in the sense that like when that band breaks up and you get International Noise Conspiracy and then they get back together and they put out this like horrible record, it sort of like changes the way that you view the things that came before. Because I
do think that Dennis, what's his name, Dennis Lixon?
Yeah.
I think he's cool in the sense that like true hardcore guys are able to just like shift genres and do have the look and the sound perfectly down. That's why International Noise Conspiracy was so good. And then I think he was in like some Regulation style rip-off band that was like aesthetically perfect. Like he's really good at doing aesthetic shifts.
Why is that like a hardcore guy thing? Because that's like Ben Cook, right? Who like has been in every type of band and executed it flawlessly.
I think it's because hardcore kids are like the most hilariously ironic people in the world, but they don't realize it. Like I'm sure that like everyone in Turnstile and Angel Dust doesn't realize how hilarious their music is, even though like it's sick and hilarious, but they don't realize it. So they're just capable of like, it's like they have this like caveman bravery that they'll just like put on a costume without realizing how silly it is, because they're like completely secure in who they are as alpha cavemen that they can just do anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I buy it.
But anyway, so moving on from this, there's two paths we can take. I didn't really write down too much Matt Skiba stuff, and he actually plays this one pretty well. I think this is like a pretty Skiba-y song. So we can either see Tom at his worst first, or we can go into the Skiba zone.
Let's go in the order the band did. So let's see Tom at his worst, and then let's see how Skiba improves or disapproves.
Okay, so this one, someone has commented that whenever they're feeling down, they watch this one because it cheers them up so much, how bad Tom is. This is from 2010. Area 4 is the venue. I don't know where this is, but this is truly like, I know people love to talk about Tom kind of like having these addiction issues and being so checked out, but I kind of think he might just be having fun. It's hard to say, but let's listen. And if you watch, I'm gonna start around the 1:30 mark. You can watch along if you feel like it.
Balls went down the drain, but hours are wasting time. I'd ask you to feel the same. Still pushing the chance to try. Your breath is cool and chill. Long hair from the side to side. You see this diamond still. These turned up right on. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes. You know what? I think you're right. Like, because this is like a very close up video. Like, this is a lot of like full frame Tom, and he looks very sharp. Like, no, he doesn't look glazed or like he doesn't know what he's doing. He looks quite amused by how
like he's like flipping off the camera and doing funny dances and like, I mean maybe he is also drunk, but maybe not. Either way, it's like as I was watching that too, I was thinking about like drinking and playing music and how like when you're in a punk band or in any kind of band, I guess, or I don't know, maybe it applies to any sort of performance, but when early on you have these like highs of performing that are so exciting, you nail the song with your friends or something really funny happens at the show or someone throws something and it's hilarious. You know, there's all these high, you play a house show that the energy is like unavoidable, and then you start like wanting to recapture that energy, so maybe you get like too drunk that you can barely play because then it feels kind of like you're on edge and it's dangerous again. Or maybe you start like sabotaging things to try to make each other laugh to keep it loose, and then eventually you just go way too far, which I've had a lot of experience with that as well.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe it was something like that where he's just like, I have to keep playing these songs every day because it's clearly Mark that wants to just be on the road all the time. So,
but they all
I
have
don't
to be
know.
like, this is still like, this is their job, right? Like, this strikes me as like someone who's punching in and is making the best of kind of just like, man, I've been here for too fucking long. Like, like,
Exactly.
like I've had the
Yeah.
video playing kind of the whole time in the background we've been talking, and like, he just looks like he is trying to entertain only himself. Like, he's not engaging with Mark or Travis at all. He's looking off stage from time to time and like smirking at someone. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's so
It's
weird.
great. I don't know. I mean, I can see why people would be mad, but I also think that it's really fun.
Yeah.
When artists are like that. So the Skiba one I have is actually not a true Skeeb, because he just sort of does a serviceable job. But it is one of these videos where someone's taken two live performances and fused them together.
Yes.
So like the drums and bass and guitar are fucking huge, and then Matt Skiba and Tom DeLonge are just like very awkwardly singing together badly. So I'm gonna start this one around, I think 2:42 or something.
So for everyone
This is
following along at home, you
for
can
following
sync
along,
up
you
your
don't have to-
video.
you don't have to- that was more for you. So edit that part, because you know how you go through and edit out all the awkward silences on the.
Yeah, of course. I'll make sure this gets, and all the times that we
Exactly.
don't know where various famous Canadian punk bands are from.
Exactly. Okay.
Hell yeah! I also like that this
You
person.
fucking kill me.
This person has produced it so that Skiba is coming out of one channel and Tom is coming out of another channel, which no one listening to this podcast is able to do. Like, it's supposed to be like, oh, if you had headphones and you could kind of
right.
play with it, and instead we're just like, here it is over Skype. The Blink 155 experience.
Either way, it kind of does
Am I the
satisfy
audio
my,
critic?
yeah, I think you might be. It does sort of satisfy my need for there to be two guitars. It literally does sound fuller and better
Yeah.
in that sense. It sounded really weird with them both singing, but they're both just doing like a pretty bad, okay job. And I just want to reiterate that Matt Skiba's Lollapalooza outfit is among the worst stage outfits I've ever seen in my life.
It looks like someone in a Fall Out Boy cover band. Like, it just looks like he looks like Patrick Stump, but like somebody who is like not even like the benefit of like being famous and having a stylist sort of trying to dress like him for the day.
So good. So I asked you to talk to our guest about the movie Date Movie.
Yeah,
in 2006.
and so I did that. So I later in this episode you'll hear me ask someone about Date Movie without knowing why we're talking about it, and us sort of floundering to find anything to say about the movie Date Movie that neither of us have seen. Have you seen the movie Date Movie?
I hadn't ever seen it before.
Did you watch it in prep for this episode?
Remember earlier when I was making fun of those people for comparing the clean and the filthy versions and saying I don't want to be like them? Well, I did spend probably an hour and a half today wrestling with Date Movie, trying to find this because
good.
I really wanted to have it. And thank God. So this is what... Okay, here's the situation. All right, you're in the biz. Is there a name for when you write a song that's a mimicry of another song because you don't want to license it?
I mean, I think it's like literally just sound-alikes. Like I don't think there's a cooler name for that. But
there's not like a friend DA sort of
no.
term
And
that
to
we
be
can...
honest, because like this is like obviously kind of standard practice, and like especially you hear it in ads where nobody wants to license like a hit song, so you kind of change a couple of notes. But there was actually recently a. I think it was Eminem, right? There was a commercial that did like the spaghetti song sound alike, and they
Lose Yourself. I think it was a political campaign video too.
Yeah, and they successfully sued them, and it actually has like established a new legal precedent around sound-alikes, which traditionally was like a fairly robust business for like advertising and stuff. But as far as I know, there's not like a more like juicy biz term for it.
Well, okay, so here's what happened. I was looking at Reddit, as I always do, mostly to figure out, various things about the differences between men and women and how I can sort of use that to my advantage and keep women in their place, which is really what Reddit is for. So I was doing that, and then I was like, well, I'll mosey on over to the Blink-182 one briefly. So on there, they talked about, in Date Movie, they thought that, the Blink-182 song Violence is in the movie, and then people were like, no, that's not the song Violence. That's a shitty ripoff of the song Violence, and it's terrible, and it's so embarrassing. And as soon as I saw that movie in 2006, I was so mad about it. And so then I was like, oh my God, we gotta play this, I can't wait. And so all the YouTube videos have been removed. Ooh. And so I'm like, fuck, well, I have time. There's some time for us to do this. It's been taken down because of copyright claims, obviously. That's all. But I'm like, okay, I'll figure this out. So then I tried to, like, get it on Netflix or something. It's not anywhere to stream. And then I'm like, fuck, I'll just... because I got rid of Prime. So I didn't want to download it on Prime. Because I don't want to fucking support Jeff Bezos.
Hell yeah.
So I'm not a bootlicker. But so then I was like, okay, fine. I'll just fucking torrent it so I can play this clip on here.
Are there active torrent? No, okay, yeah.
There's 6 leechers and 1 seater, okay? So I'm sitting here trying to
the
torrent this goddamn movie.
of Date Movie 2006.
So then I went to, like, I was like, okay, fine. I'll just fucking get malware on my computer. So I go to, like, Putlocker or whatever. These, like, weird-ass streaming websites. So I tried some of those. I found one that worked, and then I'm like, well, it's all choppy. It's dying. So I'm like, I'm going to load a different website on my phone so I can use the screen recorder, and then I'll have it for the socials too. So then and also on Reddit, they had said the wrong time code by like 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
I was like scrubbing like 20 minutes. And then it was at a point where I'd gotten so deep in where I'd been like listening to the soundtrack on Apple Music trying to find it, and instead finding out that like Pitbull's name on the soundtrack was actually Pit Bull, like it's 2 words. And also Lil Jon is on. I've learned so much about Date Movie today.
But is it like Little John?
Yeah. Despite only seeing like the latter 15 minutes 3 or 4 times in a row, I've learned a lot about Date Movie. But anyways, so I tried watching it on my phone.
This is insane, by the way. I'm sorry. Like this is like the behavior of a person who has absolutely lost their mind. Like I know. Does Sarah know about this?
As I know, she was at the dentist. That's why. I was home alone, and this is how I chose to spend my time. So then I recorded it on my phone, but then it didn't do the audio. So I'm like, oh, maybe I just have to turn the volume up and do it again. No, didn't work. So then I go back to a different one of these fucking like 123movies.biz or whatever. Just pop-ups fucking everywhere. I'm signed up to all these gambling sites and all these fake Flash DMG files I've downloaded on my computer. Whole nightmare. And then I finally get to one where I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. And so I used my browser's web developer to find the actual source of the MP4 file and downloaded it so that I have a clean copy of the MP4.
Holy shit.
So this was like, this was literally like an hour and a half.
You did all that in 90 minutes?
Yeah, it was like it was part of my research, baby. I got to do this for the pod. So you will be able to see this scene on our socials because I have it all ready to go, provided that the malware doesn't get my computer
Right,
first.
this is like assuming that you even exist online by the time this episode comes out, because your entire identity hasn't been sort of stolen and used to purchase arms overseas, and you've been arrested by CSIS. What's our national intelligence?
Yeah, CSIS is our thing, which is so funny because it really does sound like a CanCon ISIS kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
So through the robust comment section on soundtrackinfo.com that I just sent you,
God,
which is also hilarious to see that the Date Movie soundtrack was put up by Lakeshore Records, because that's like a hip label now because people love soundtracks so much.
Amazing.
They've put out like fucking Mandy probably or shit like that. Anyways, in here, Q&A. What is the song that is played when Julia is going upstairs in his flat and he fights with Carmen Electra? It sounds like Violence from Blink-182, but I think it's made by another band. It only sounds the drum and a guitar. Someone in Spain asked this. And then Anthony from Chicago answers, in the original version of the movie, when they were doing test screenings, it was Violence, but they couldn't get the rights or didn't have the money to use it in the final cut. The version of the song in the movie is original, probably by the composer David Kittay, and just different enough from the Blink-182 song that's not illegal, considered copyright infringement. So I'm going to play you the song. So this is the main girl from this movie. I can't remember her name right now, too focused on the soundtrack. But she's going after her lover who she left at the altar, or he left her or something. I don't know. And basically they're cutting this edgy alternative song as she's running up the stairs of a building while he's going down the elevator and listening to music. It's that great juxtaposition of edge and soft rock, you know?
Mm-hmm. Did you expect me to ask all of this of our guest this week? Because I feel like I'm really...
Oh, no. I was just like, I've never seen date movies, so I thought, you know what, we've got a movie guy coming on.
I should, yeah. If only I had said, like, you know, what do you think about the use of Pitbull and Blink sound like? So prepare to be disappointed is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I just thought, you know what, there's a movie guy. It's clearly Date Movie. Date, what's it called? Date Movie or Date Night? Date Movie.
Date Movie. Date Night is, that's a different film. Anyway, who fucking cares?
Anyways, I was just saying, like, as he's going down the elevator and listening to music, like, he pulls out maracas and then he pulls out a trumpet, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should watch this movie. There's some pretty good gags in here.
You put a lot of work into having it, so I kind of feel like you deserve it.
Yeah. So anyways, just listen, though, how crazy of a ripoff this is. It's actually very surprising. Sort of goes into like a bad rock song.
I don't think that's been changed enough. Like, yeah, because you could almost the riff actually just kind of sounded like the Sabotage riff. Like it was like they were playing the Sabotage riff over the Blink song. But then you literally get into the ba-da-doom, ba-da-doom, ba-da-doom. Like it's this like you can't do that. Like,
well, I guess the question is like there's always all these different sort of rules, but I guess the question is, can you copyright a drum beat as opposed to like a melody? I know that you can in terms of like sampling actual real drum recordings, but if you're repeating the drum beat, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like if it was a bigger song and Date Movie was a bigger movie, like that's nuts.
Yeah, I do feel a little bit like vindicated knowing that.
That was like worth the work, to be honest. Like what a bizarre, because it's not like a damn it sound alike. Like it's a sound alike for like a middle of the record song.
that like a lot of people also do hate that song. Like only half. It's a very split song in terms of the reception. So why rip it off?
Yeah, and it's like a fan favorite, but it's not. It's not like that was a hit.
Like you're already like recording your own music for this scene. It's pretty fucking easy to do anything.
Yeah, but I honestly wonder if it's like they literally tracked right to it, because obviously you're familiar with this as a professional film critic, but so often the version of films that you see at festivals, which you attend, contain uncleared music. Like there are festival cuts of movies where you're like, I don't know, I hope we get the rights to this U2 song, and then a year later when it finally comes out, that's been replaced by like some local indie band from wherever the director is from, because they obviously couldn't clear Yellow.
Right, that's not a U2 song.
I know, but I'd moved on to Coldplay in my head already. Is that gonna be? Am I gonna get like a lot of hate for that?
No, I think that'll be fine. It's only the punks. It's just a weird reminder that punks listen to our podcast. Isn't that odd? Isn't that fucking bizarre?
I don't know. We're not giving them much, so.
My favorite thing about this whole date movie thing, though, is that like there's a heated conversation about it on the Blink-182 online forum from right when this happened, and people were like, I was so pissed off when I saw this happen in the theater, and everyone's like, you went to see this movie in the theater?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things where you accidentally reveal too much about yourself. But like if I just saw that, I would be kind of it's just so bold and just so weird. It's so weird.
Just so unnecessary, because the purpose of it all is also just for the contrast with the music in the elevator. So you could, as long as it's loud, it doesn't really matter what it is.
What the fuck? I want to see.
Anyways,
we gotta get the festival cut of Date Movie. To just get the proper experience.
I like that in your mind. You think that Date Movie played at like con?
Probably did. Well, maybe it played at Sundance or something. Who directed Date Movie? I wonder if we can like get them
on the pod.
On the pod. So it was directed.
Probably like someone who's been fucking outed.
Yeah. So so Canadian Americans. They made Spy Hard, Date Movie. There's two directors, Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer. Disaster Movie and Vampires Suck.
Okay, let me just say Spy Hard is so good. Oh, he wrote Spy Hard. This guy.
Spy Hard, but that's because like all Leslie Nielsen movies, like it's the only good version of those movies are the Leslie Nielsen version of those movies.
But honestly, like people always think that I'm a snob for some reason, but I swear to God, this entire filmography I will happily sit through and watch, just in case there's like one joke that's okay.
I feel like I'll be
like, that was worth my time.
Yeah.
Like I went to see movie 43 in the theater.
Why? That's not right, man.
Yeah, like I'll do whatever, because I just want to see some jokes. I'll sit. I actually would like to start watching The Big Bang Theory, but my wife won't let me. But I just want to see some jokes happen. I don't care what the scenario. I don't care about like fucking. Everyone wants everything to just be like a drama now. I just want to see some fucking jokes. So I'll watch The Starving Games or Super Fast from 2015.
Yeah, I've
any of this shit.
I've seen on Netflix the super bad 40-year-old virgin who knocked up. Forgot about knocking up Sarah Marshall, and you're like, yo, this is sick. Way to make a comedy about comedies. Apparently, Friedberg and Seltzer have announced their intention to release Who the Fuck Took My Daughter, a parody of Taken.
See, that sounds great. Yeah. You know, when I was a little kid, instead of reading Goosebumps books, I read these ones called like Barforama, and they were just like, they're like Goosebumps, except it was like, he picked a booger, and then the booger became alive, and I was like, hell yeah, this is really good.
Amazing. To be honest, like, I haven't seen a good parody of a Taken type movie. Like, I feel like that's a genre that is ripe for the sort of epic takedowns that defined Spy Hard, Scary Movie, Date Movie, Epic Movie, Meet the Spartans, Disaster Movie, Vampires Suck, The Starving Games, Best Night Ever, and Super Fast. It's worth noting, I want to read this in order. Here are the Rotten Tomatoes for all of those movies. 8%, 54% for the first Scary Movie, but that's all Anna Faris. 7%, 2%, 2%, 1%, 5%, 0%, 0%.
And Superfast didn't even get on to Rotten Tomatoes.
And that's like a wow. Yeah.
Okay, two things I want to add to this before we move along. There was one called Dance Movie that I don't know who did it, but Amy Sedaris was in it.
Yeah.
And it was actually like pretty funny, to be honest. But again, I don't think that I'm trustworthy in this realm.
Mm-hmm.
But second of all, I think that this is maybe why The Beach Bum is good, because I think it's secret. I think Harmony Korine has used his clout to secretly make one of these kind of movies.
Amazing.
Like, it's so shitty and plotless that it's kind of. But yeah, I think that someone should make one that's like not just another indie movie or something, and make it all like Manic Pixie Dream Girls and stuff. I mean, it's probably 10 years too late for that, but that would have been so good.
I have two very important points to make before we move on, which is we have not acknowledged that the theme from Spy Hard is, of course, an incredible Weird Al song that I'm sure you and I both love.
Oh, Spy Hard is so good.
And that song rocks. And the last film that Friedberg and Seltzer released, Superfast, a parody of the Fast and Furious films that literally does not even have a rating on Rotten Tomatoes, according to Wikipedia, had a budget of $20 million and only grossed $2.1 million against that $20 million budget. So that might be why they're having trouble getting Who the Fuck Took My Daughter made, I guess, at this point. But like in an era where like the movies winning Best Picture get made for $3 million, like knowing that Superfast somehow cost $20 million is like really awesome.
There was this movie on TV a few weeks ago that I watched like half an hour of, and it was so incredibly awful. But it's like one of the original ones of these is called, I think, Kentucky Fried Movie or something.
Yeah.
So
that's like the OG.
That one,
what's his name?
the guy.
You're obviously looking him up. I can hear the Google.
Is it John Landis?
No,
or,
is it? Oh, I thought it was.
Or is it Reitman? It's John Landis.
Yeah, okay.
But then it was written by David Zucker and Jimmy Brand.
That's what it is. I thought it was
like
Zucker.
Airplane and stuff. So
and Basketball.
Dirty Movie. This movie, Dirty Movie, was on TV, and it was like so fucking next level awful that I was like, I need to keep watching this. But it was like a series of sketches, and I was just mesmerized by it, even though none of it was funny and it was like deeply offensive. But it's a National Lampoon movie from 2011. I'm seeing now it has 3 out of 10 on IMDb, but it turns out it was directed by Chris Maloney, the actor. So check that out if you want to feel dumber.
Shit. You know what's another good one? Not Another Teen Movie. That one was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw them. I think also, like, when most of these came out, I thought that I was too good for them, and I don't know why. And now I need to go back. Maybe that's another idea for a podcast, just, like, watching.
Oh, parody films? Like all these, like, joke a minute.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with them. I love it. I love when, like, I mean, obviously the Leslie Nielsen style ones are the best, but there's also that Rashida Jones TV show that does Angie Tribeca. And that's sort of like trying to bring that style back. I want that to come back. Anyways, moving along.
Didn't Zucker become like an insane right-wing bigot, though?
Well, I don't know.
I know like all those movies are like deeply problematic, but like, or not necessarily all of them, but they quite often rely on like, very shitty humor. But I think he started making like real like, Michael Moore is bad. The left wing is crazy type films. Anyway, who cares? Who fucking cares?
That sounds great. I would love to watch those.
I know. Yeah. Anyway, let's
move on to something smarter, which is my collection of DeviantArts that I've made from this song. Because I was like, are these worth bringing up? And then just fucking click what I just sent you, my friend.
Okay.
This is uploaded to DeviantArt by The Blue FX.
What the fuck? No. Josiah, how could you possibly not think this is a good song if this is what it's inspiring?
Maybe you're
like,
right.
You are real wrong, dude. Like, you thought this episode was going to go one way, and you're so fucking wrong.
We'll see.
Can you describe the image that you just sent me to the people, please?
So this is a pencil crayon drawing, very lightly done.
Yeah, it's so
say
delicate.
It looks like a cover page for like a social studies report, kind of like that style of art. It's on a piece of, I would say, plain loose leaf white paper, maybe printer paper. It is a picture of, there's a sunset, there's a horizon, And there's dialogue, like violence you have me forever and after. And now there's someone standing on the edge of the cliff looking out at the sea. And it is none other than Sonic the Hedgehog.
It is like literally the saddest, most emotionally evocative image I've ever seen in my life.
And I just Googled this. I realized that I do want to admit that I Googled this and that I didn't know it, but I guess the pink hedgehog that he's speaking to, is sort of dreaming of in the clouds, is Amy Rose. Is her name?
Yeah, because I was like, it's not Tails. Like, that's the only other one that I know. So it's Sonic looking at... What was her name?
Amy Rose.
What the fuck?
Why?
Like, Sonic is just feeling so much. Oh, it's so good.
It's like he's about to... Yeah, obviously this is going up.
I'm
on
getting this
social forum.
tattooed on my back. Like,
Well, it doesn't stop there, because I kept looking at all the things tagged Blink-182 violence, and this is fitting with what day it is, what with the new trailer and all, but this is a photo manipulation uploaded by Hands of Shame.
What?
And the description is just the lyrics of violence, but it's actually... This young gal has made herself look exactly like the Heath Ledger Joker, and she's holding up a butcher knife to her face.
Yeah, this is, of course, appropriate because we're recording this on the day that the new teaser trailer for the Joker film, directed by the guy who made Hated, the G.G. Allen documentary,
Right.
was released. And so the Joker is a trending topic. And so, of course, we're trying to, as we always do, sort of really...
Pulling it all together.
Yeah. Jump into the zeitgeist and really just offer...
But yeah, so we got Sonic and we've got the Joker. Those are basically the two pillars of online, I would say.
Yeah. This is like maybe our most online episode.
But then it keeps getting better and better. Actually, I'm going to save this one for last. So
okay.
it keeps getting better because there's the selfie manipulations with lyrics. So this one that I've just sent you is by the user X Violence, and the lyrics like "Violence, you have me forever and after" are there, along with this like high contrast pink and like lighter pink photo manipulation of these two goth girls, and there's X's all over, and like this looks like it could be like early Crystal Castles artwork.
Yeah,
or something.
this is like one of those pieces of art, and I'm sure these are all up on the socials now, so people can take a look at this. But this is one of those things that, like, you couldn't accidentally do, you couldn't do this on purpose. Almost like it's so fucked looking that it looks amazing, but it obviously I don't think this person necessarily like intended, like, just scrolling through their other uploads. Like, this was just sort of like an accident that they've created this like profoundly hip piece of art.
Yeah, no, it's so like authentic.
It's so sick. Dude, Violence is like everything that you are showing me. Like, I don't know what you're about to reveal.
The last one is so good. Okay, this one, yeah, you're right. Violence is really good because look at this photo from Morbus Psyche.
Oh yeah, dude.
This is like the most perfect swoop bangs I've ever seen in my life. With, again, like "Violence, you kill me forever and after." So maybe those lyrics like kind of invented MySpace. Perhaps
it would appear that they were at least sort of like part of the like some chemical, some part of the dust of the Big Bang of like this just like spooky MySpace people. Like, what the fuck?
Oh my god, look at the, like, if you click more from Morbus Psyche, these, like, gray ass photos of, like, it's so scary.
I don't know how to describe what I'm seeing here, yeah.
I think it's best not to. Let's just move along.
Yeah.
So that was a little DeviantArt. We should come up with, like, a name for the DeviantArt.
Oh, yeah, we should have, like, little, like, every time that we use a sound
little
effect,
bumpers.
like, I'm always like, oh, my God, is this what it's like to have a real podcast? Like, when we do, like, like the, like, reggae sirens. So maybe we should have, like, a little, like, little DeviantArt song. Maybe this is, can we do, like a contest, like, have the nation, right?
The thing is, I think other podcasts do that exact thing. So,
yeah, and they're successful, man.
Okay, then yeah, sure. Someone come up with a name for the DeviantArt section and a song for it, and then I'll probably never look up DeviantArt again.
Yeah, this is going to be the last time.
Okay, this is something really special that I found that I'm really excited about. I don't really get what it is. I think...
Is this Ian Blurton? It's a Blink-182 Violence, Change of Heart. Of course, legendary Toronto indie rock band.
I think Change of Heart... Okay, this guy's name is Stavros. His name is Stavros Music. I guess his name is either Stavros Money or Sam Stavros.
So this is like a combination of Ian Blurton and Come Town.
Exactly. No, this is like... So if you click through to his About Me page, his banner image says Stavros Rockin' Ska, and there's like an emblem. But I think this is like baby boomer ska, because when I used to work in a mailroom, my boss was a wedding DJ, and he used like a CDJ thing to like charge way too much money to DJ weddings and play the chicken dance. But his DJ name was Pete Ska, and he had like black and white like there's a whole generation of perhaps second wave ska heads who are just as corny as third wave, but those two groups have not come together. It's almost like how like if the lower classes in America united and right and left and took down the upper classes, that would be the end of the world. Like if all the waves of ska joined forces, we would be fucked. So it's probably better that those two sides do not meet.
Yeah, they can never speak to each other.
But this guy is definitely of that era. So I'm just going to play a little bit of his comedy rock song from the band Stavros. This is called Mailbox. And this is the sort of thing that I think this boomer-ass ska dad probably is so lawyered up that this is going to get our episode deleted from
Right.
YouTube. Just
We're going to get like the whole pod is going to get pulled from Spotify.
Probably. So this is the song Mailbox. It's so funny. If somebody said that this was like a new Pointed Sticks song, I would believe you. But like the context is obviously not, because the video is very cheesy and it's very like dad-ish. So anyways, I think he's like trying to promote his rock and ska music with a YouTube series called Change of Heart reaction videos.
Okay.
So I think he goes into this being like, I don't like Blink-182. Let's see if I can change my mind. Okay. So this is a 10-minute long video, and I didn't really play most of it, but I have like sort of a money shot that I'll skip to later, but I'm just going to start at the beginning.
Okay.
So let's hear what Stavros has to say.
Well, let's get on with it. How about it? So Blink-182, Violence. Now, I don't know what they're going to be violent about. Maybe nothing. After I remember what I wanted to say. I've gotten a couple requests. I think Homeward by or something about home. Having to do with Green Day. I'm going to definitely get to that. And then the live St. Jimmy Green Day. That I'm really excited about, to tell you the truth. So all of you that have requested the live St. Jimmy, I will be getting to that within the next reaction or two, or maybe even the next one. So that's high on my list. And the Homeward or Homeway or whatever it's called by Green Day, that's also high on my list.
Okay, I just want to pause for a second and say this is clearly in his garage, and there's something up on the wall. There's a sign that says "Turn off the fan."
Yeah,
but then the sign above that says something about not having
malice
medicine. No, that says medicine.
Medicine on your feet.
What does that mean?
I don't know. He's an old guy. Like, I don't know. You get ailments. Like, he's obviously got foot medicine. But also, he's sitting in front of a set of V drums, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, he's delivering this whole thing from a throne in front of V drums.
And a text-only URL popped up to go to his webpage. It had like 4 subsections of his webpage to check out his new lyric video. So I don't know. Hopefully, if you look this up and watch it, make sure you have a pen handy.
Yeah, you're gonna want to take that down. And he's like listening to the song on like an old Palm Pilot or something somehow.
Yeah, or it's like I think it's like an iPod, but it's in one of those like mom and dad phone cases that's a wallet,
right?
You know, or it's like also a day timer.
Yeah.
I love this guy. Okay, I skipped ahead a bit where it looks like the reaction starts.
Okay. Sounds like somebody's heart's beating.
The talking doesn't add up with the
right,
video.
he's just like arbitrarily slotted it in.
Good drummer.
Good drummer.
My band would sound so much better if they had a drummer.
Always making it about your band.
Okay, I like that. That sort of guitar. I like it. Sounds like West Side Story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Join the Jets.
What? Is that like a thing? Like, that's not how I interpreted that at all.
Oh my God, that's great.
Well, it's weird because it's not at the West Side Story part yet. I think he might have read that somewhere.
Oh, maybe you read it. Maybe he listened to the podcast already.
Yeah, because this is my neighbor. Also, I like that he did a picture-in-picture thing, but it's just for like a really shitty YouTube lyric video.
Yeah, it's
it's been a black screen this entire time. But I'm curious. The real West Side Story part is this like 6 bottles went down the drain part. Let's see what he thinks of this.
Bottles went down the drain. 1 hour's wasted
So it's a
time.
sort of rap
I'd ask if you
thing.
feel the same.
So it's a sort of rap thing.
yeah. We haven't talked about how rappy it is.
It's cool room chill.
It's not though.
You speak and make time stand still. And each time look right.
He's talking about a girl.
He's like, oh my god, he's such a dad. So anyways, I just want to skip ahead to when I was like clicking around, I got to this part. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but this is at the 9-minute mark. And we were only at the 3-minute mark. This is sort of how he concludes everything.
Here's a message to the world. I don't mean to sound callous or stupid or dumb. However, boys and girls, the bus stops every 10 minutes. So if somebody shines you on, it's time to stop obsessing and move on. Remember, desire is the thing that hurts us most. When you can get rid of desire, or rid of most of your desire, that's when you will actually start becoming happy, because it's the desire that causes you frustration. So try and stop desiring, certainly stop obsessing over things, or only desire those things that are easy to get. What the hell's wrong with me? I told you I was tired. Okay.
So it's like in real time you're watching this man's brain degrade. Like at the start of the video he doesn't seem like a crazy old man, and then he's like, someone will shine you on the bus every 10 minutes, but you gotta just kill your desire.
Is that like some Christian shit? Like that felt like very...
No, I don't think so. I think it's like maybe either culty or possibly incel, maybe? I don't know.
You gotta kill your desire. That's I mean, ska's good for that.
He did decide that he likes the song, so he has
Of
this
course he
heart,
does.
really shitty heart that he holds up that's like just colored in with a marker, perhaps by the person who drew the sonic image. And it's red on one side and black on the other, and he gives it a red heart. So,
Nice.
I don't know. He kind of reminds me of the Adam song guy who's like eating cheese when talking about death.
Oh, yeah,
And I think
yeah.
Boomer reaction videos is something I need to dig into a little bit more.
That's the next project. Boomers react.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we still can't get into covers because
fuck.
there's a little preamble section, which is the remix section.
Oh, okay.
So, and there is, I will say this right off the bat, there's a remix that's a mashup of this song and I Miss You that everyone shares a bunch, and I was just like, you know what? Look it up yourself if you care about that sort of thing.
Damn.
Kind of, it's too boring for me. I'm too bored by that shit. Instead, I'd rather play you this one that is uploaded by Bill Schmalkuki. And I think the names are getting funnier. I mean, his name is literally Bill Schmalkuki, which I believe is Danish for small cock.
It is.
And-
I'm impressed that you know that.
So he said, remix of Odds by Blink-182, crappy sound because I don't have anything to record with besides my laptop's built-in mic. So in order to hear any of this at all, I have to turn up all of my speakers to the maximum possible volume, which is already so funny to me. But he did remix it somehow and then just like played it through. Like somehow he... Again, this is from 2011. Did he not know how to like put a song on his computer? He had to record it with an internal mic or something. I don't really know, but here, let's see if you can hear this.
Push, cool room chill. You speak of me, time stands still, and each time you look right on by.
It's kind of cool, like some Kid 606 style glitch music.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like when I have a particularly bad Skype connection, and I'm like, "Cool, that rocked!" Like that's what it sounds like to me.
So to you, that was just normal.
I was like, "Oh no, it's happening again. We're gonna have another Bohemian Rhapsody on our hands."
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I love it. I love just finding these shitty things, and I'd rather play the shitty things than the good things. So that's why I'm in charge, and that's why you have to put up with
Yeah.
me.
No.
The other one, though, this is like way on the other side of things and really cool. And I think you're going to be stoked. This seems like something there should be a This Exists about. Maybe it's too big of a topic, but there's like a Chopped and Screwed or Chopped Not Slopped or whatever, like fucking purple remix of the song. It's literally 8 minutes long.
Well, I guess we got to listen to the whole thing, right?
I wrote down a good time code because I'm so generous to my
This
listeners.
is you put so much time into this episode.
I really did. I don't know
Like
why.
it was,
The NFC thing got into my head.
Right,
so,
you,
so
like, you
deeply.
really
I just
needed
had
to
to
prep,
channel
yeah.
into something. Yeah. So okay, here's an area where it's particularly interesting, but I don't know. Do you have to be stoned to enjoy like do you ever listen to like Chopped Not Screwed remixes of things?
I mean, I think I used to when I thought that like doing those sorts of things made me interesting until I realized like I didn't especially like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's weird how perhaps it's a sign of our times that we're more likely to listen to Nightcore remixes than we are Chopped and Screwed. Maybe every once in a while we should just take some time to slow down a little.
I think you're right.
Put our phones down and just go out into the wilderness and listen to a Chopped Not Slopped remix of a Katy Perry song.
That's I think that's the sort of like mantra that can really inspire people. That should be part of our mission is to spread the chopped not slopped gospel.
And like, why do they say chopped not slopped sometimes, but then sometimes they say chopped and screwed? Does that mean that it is slopped when it's screwed? Is slopped screwed?
I get maybe all screwed is also slopped, but not all slopped is screwed. You know?
Yeah. It's really gross. Bunch
I
of
know. I
words.
don't like.
All
I
right,
don't like how it feels coming out of my mouth.
This is by DJ Seven Right. Here we go.
I ask if you feel the same. Still pushing that chest to try. Your breath is cold and chill. Long hair goes side to side. You speak and the time stands still. And each time walk right on by.
Yo, that's great. Well, we definitely
Yeah,
need to
that's
listen to
pretty
more of
sick.
that. Like that was the right vibe. Maybe it's just been too long for me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not really something that I've heard too much with, like, it's never popped up with Blink-182 before.
No.
But I guess this is where the hip-hop element of it does come in more than I want to admit.
I mean, they are basically
to me,
rapping.
It doesn't sound like they're rapping to me. It sounds like they're doing, like, maybe, like, Hamilton rapping. Like, it does sound like musical theater rapping to me.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know, but... I mean, oh man, I wonder if there's like Hamilton chopped.
Yeah, like this is definitely going to send me down a rabbit hole. Like I know it, and I'm very excited about it.
All right, well, this is sort of my segue between remix and covers. I'm really thinking about the order of things. I really care about my dear listeners. Or do I? No one knows, including me. This is a remix also, but it has a new rap verse.
Oh, that
This
is exciting.
Now, this was uploaded by Derek Zoya, who it's his song, and he looks like the whitest dork ever. But there's also someone named JT guesting on it. Like, when I see what this guy looks like, I think there's no way this guy is rapping. He just looks like such a, like, substitute teacher kind of vibe. But maybe he is. Maybe I'm wrong.
You shouldn't
Either
judge
way,
people. This guy does look like a substitute teacher, actually, yeah.
Yeah, right? Okay, so here's the Violence remix by Derek Zoya featuring JT. And I'm skipping ahead again.
Yeah, JT, D, let's get it. Hot chills on a cold night. Jet lag from a long flight. Got you overthinking everything in one night. Got you hoping that everything gonna be alright. Yo, girl, hand me your feelings. Like a running back, you got me running back. And wanting that, I ain't even gotta fake that. And if your love come with pain, I'll take that. But I won't let nobody take
So that was JT.
Hell yeah, JT. He lost it kind of in the latter half when he just started running back with back. But at the beginning, it sounded like he had a very Pit space bull kind of flow where it's like always like leaning, like everything's weighted towards the back half of your phrasing where you're like, like it was, I can't do it because I'm not fucking Pitbull.
It also sounded like it wasn't really going with the beat, which makes me think that JT just emailed the raw file to Derek Zoya. Like it sounds off it almost sounds like Thotiana off in a way. Like when you listen to Thotiana, you're like, whoa, how is this guy like going so off the beat and then getting back there? But I think in the case of JT's Violence remix, it's just because he emailed the files to his nerd substitute teacher friend so that he'd leave them alone.
Yeah, Mr. Zoya.
Well, let's go from Mr. Zoya into Mr. Sviggles.
Oh, I like the art for this. I like this Max Rez.
Yeah. So Mr. Sviggles uploaded this in 2018, and instead of a description, Mr. Sviggles has shared the John Jones poem.
I thought the user was going to be named like Dave Sviggles. Like I didn't realize that like literally you had so cleanly transitioned from a substitute teacher to a channel that's actually called Mr. Sviggles. It's weird. I don't like it.
I didn't write down the entry point for this one, but I'm just scrubbing the video so I can get to the vocals, and they've actually done some zany text that says, "Don't worry, there's actually words.
Okay.
Any second now."
Well, I was worried.
Here they come. So let's hear what Mr. Sviggles sounds like with the lyrics on here.
6 bottles went down the drain. 1 hour's waste of time. I ask if you feel the same. Still pushing that chance to try. Your breath in this cool room chill. Long hair that blows side to side. You speak and make time stand still. And each time you walk right on by. Like violence you have made forever and after. Like violence you can live forever and after.
I think the thing for me is that, like, I still, despite all of the jokes and all of the poking fun and all of the enjoying the output of nerds, I still think in my heart of hearts that Blink-182 is cool, especially in this era.
Yeah.
And yet this song is so clearly just for, like, Homestar Runner fans, and that's what's weirding me out.
I get it. Also, that voice felt very familiar to me. Like if a little loopier and a little more about like neighbors that won't let you sleep, and it evokes a sense of familiarity.
Surprisingly, Darius did not enter the canon with this song,
Damn.
unless he started a new alt account that I haven't discovered yet.
I mean,
but,
that's also entirely possible.
But in keeping with sort of like the checkered 3/4 length shorts and being a nerd who likes Homestar Runner and chin beard kind of vibe of this cover specifically really hammered home for me. Like, yeah, this song is for nerds. So this is uploaded by the Electric Guitar 16. It's a cover from Stevo and Swinks is their name, and they're sitting in like probably some sort of, I don't know, like one of those rooms where like a a lunch group would have a meeting at school.
Yeah,
'Cause they
totally.
don't want to go outside. Like, they don't want to go outside and get bullied.
Yeah, these are definitely
like,
indoor
yeah.
kids. Like, embracing the teacher being like, yeah, you can have Magic the Gathering Club. Like, I just want to sit here and, like, play my Sudokus and eat lunch. So, like, I don't care.
And that, like, I mean, all of that is fine. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just I think of Blink-182 as being, like, cool rock stars at this point in time. But this song is so clearly that instead. So, I don't know. Anyways, here's Steve-O and Swinks. And that's either Steve-O or Swinks drumming on the guitar, while the other Swinks or Steve-O plays and sings. Skip ahead a little. Oh, that chord! I don't like that chord and the chord progression.
Can't count things there. Can't count things they see. Just things are left to bleed.
Look, they're talented and they're not hurting anyone, but like, to me, Muse is the band for these kind of people.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
But like we're bringing like a contemporary Muse take to that. Like this band was just one of the most popular rock bands in the world at the time that this record came out. And when you're popular, just like you are liked by a wide swath of people, and that includes,
Okay, here's the other
fellas
angle.
here.
I'm not trying to, they can have their fun. I'm not, if they had come outside, then I would bully them, but they're staying in here, so it's fine, we're separated.
Okay.
But when you do good criticism, you're not supposed to just talk about your own personal relations with something in terms of how you interact with it from your own subjective way, but you're also supposed to ask, what was the artist trying to do? And did they succeed? And I think what the artist was trying to do was make an edgy, angsty, badass post-hardcore song. And instead, they made, like, a nerd song. And so I think that's specifically why it feels like a failure. Not because it's, like, this fun anomaly, but because they were trying to be Fugazi, and they instead stumbled upon something that's, like, I don't know, just, like, bad Reddit music.
Yeah, and that's great. I think Reddit needed a soundtrack, and I'm like in support of it. That's the music that I love. It turns out.
Well, we still got a ways
Like this
to
is
go.
better than anything on the Kill Taker.
Well, yeah, obviously no one likes Fugazi, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. So this is by Maxime Legal.
Okay.
This is from 5 years ago. Honestly, every cover of this is so weird and makes me feel so uncomfortable. Let's hear this one. I was gonna skip the intro, but
I'm vibing.
vibing kind of in a bad way. Like, I feel like I'm at a cult,
Well,
learning how to say no to desire.
or this feels like it could have been like in the soundtrack to a film from a director that we'll be talking about a lot in today's guest
Flush me
interview.
down the drain.
Oh, what?
1 hour's a waste of time. I'd ask if you feel the same. Still pushing the chance to try. You're pressing this scroll chair. Long headed look side to side. You speak and make time stand still. And each time you will bend by. Like violence, you have me forever and after. Like violence, you kill me forever and after.
It feels more, while we're talking film, this feels like more like from Gus Van Sant's Elephant, maybe. Kind of.
Is that how you're supposed to pronounce Gus? I've always said Van, but is Vaughn like the
I don't know. I
when
don't
you're
fucking know. I don't know how to pronounce
cinema
anything.
man?
Stop. I don't know how to pronounce anything.
Damn.
This is why I try to avoid talking to people.
Gus Von
Terrible idea to have a
Sant.
podcast.
Josiah.
So what did you think of that? What did you think of that?
I thought it was great. I fucking loved it, and I can't wait to love every single. You will not break me.
Yeah, you're just a liar. You're just a fraud.
Nah, I've never been accused of that before in my life.
No, I mean I like that one too, but it's because I like the true active shooter energy coming off of it.
Yeah, it's true. I was like, I'd be like, if you had a kid who all of a sudden was, I'd be like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, that's not.
Yeah, it's like very. We need to talk about Kevin music.
Yeah, totally.
This next one is by the Phantom Project, and I don't remember what it sounds like, but I just wrote down what the fuck is this when I did my notes. So this will be interesting to hear. Oh my god! And okay, wait. This is one of those moments where I'm having a revelation to myself. Is the person that we were creeped out by? Yeah. Okay. Was that last week or a couple weeks ago where I played a symphonic version from Apple Music that ended up being like this terrifying artist called A Rocket's Intensity? And there was like all those weird ass songs. There was like 100 albums on Bandcamp on Apple Music.
Oh right, yeah. I mean,
well I don't remember when that was, but before we even hear this, that person who I found on Apple Music has commented on the Phantom Project favorite cover ever.
hell yeah! So this is like a comprehensive world that we're building, eh?
Yeah, we're uncovering this whole world of like terrifying creeps who like Blink-182 just as much as us. So this is the Phantom Project, but the username is the Phantom E Project. So I don't know what that means, but let's hear this shit. There's a big waveform jump later on.
Is that the bridge? Yeah.
Maybe. So you love it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, dude, I think it's fucking great. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. We'll keep going through this bizarre collection of things that I found. So this is by Tori Wex, but it's produced by APV. I think this is like sort of.
Well, you need to give the production credits.
Well, it's written on here because I think this is like a chill coffee house electronic remix, maybe.
Cool, yeah.
So let's see what Tori Wex did here.
I mean, just because I was surprised by it doesn't mean I didn't love it.
Like, there was a time when I was watching a live video earlier that I was ready to love it, but for some reason this song is truly for school shooters and like Linux users and people who wear leather trench coats.
Dude, you're literally describing, look, with the exception of people who commit shootings, which are bad, the coolest people.
But like, I don't even really understand. Maybe it is that line.
You know,
that's resonating with these people. Like, why does this song belong on the Matrix soundtrack? I don't understand.
Yeah, you know what? I'll also own up to something and make this about me, which is like at a point between like I had a work computer.
You are a school shooter.
I at one point shot up a school. No, like I ended up getting a Chromebook. This is, I know we've talked a lot about my computer on this.
Yeah, this is a real sore spot.
Yeah,
for you.
but like at one point I was like, maybe I'm gonna, because I think some Chromebooks like you can like reformat and run Linux on them, and like for no particular reason other than the fact that I like thought it would be like, I don't know, an interesting project. I was like, maybe I'm gonna do that. Like that'd be cool. That'd be like a cool different thing to do. And so I think there's like a part of me that like is not actually interested in those kinds of hobbies. Like I don't own any leather, but like on a spiritual level, I like aspire to it perhaps, and so that's what I'm connecting with. That you are repulsed by is the Linux energy.
Yeah, but it's definitely there, right?
I mean,
like,
clearly
like,
that's what we're discovering.
The song sounds like, and I haven't mentioned yet that there is a Blink-155 simile bot, and since this song is built around a terrible simile, I will say so. The bot predicts sort of the weird-ass similes that we're going to say about things. And I'm about to say it now because to me this song, I'm realizing, sounds like one of those Winamp skins that is like so techy and weird that Winamp becomes completely unusable.
Right, yeah.
In the process.
It takes over like a quarter of your screen. It's designed to look like a spaceship sort of
with
navigation. Yeah.
Like, this song is for those kind of people. This is like HD wallpaper music.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't understand it. I do respect it. I don't want to be misinterpreted, but I don't understand it, and it's nothing like Refused or Fugazi at all.
Yeah. I guess it is like, if Refused were like an MS-DOS video game. Like a sci-fi
It's
video
like
game.
if the second Refused album was actually the first one, maybe.
Okay, yeah. Oh, damn. No, a bot could never generate that kind of insight.
All right, up next we've got JP Peretta, and this one I think really sounds like worship music, so I'm excited. Here we go. Actually, it's more like, it's not worship music. This is for the church heads only. This is more like when somebody does a special presentation song.
What the fuck
but
is
it's not
that?
like, you're not singing along, but it's just a special... they'll know. It's when someone just like prepared a song for church, but it's not a worship song.
I don't know. I'll be honest. It's starting to wear me down finally.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you know.
That dude kind of did save the chord progression for me, so that it doesn't sound incorrect anymore. But yeah, that was like who is this song for?
I don't know. I thought it was for me, but now it's for the special presentation givers. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's you. That is you.
I mean, this podcast is nothing if not a special presentation that we give to each other over and over and over again every week.
So this is the last one I wrote down. Yes, there's an Odie acoustic one, and there's a few normie ones, but I was like, there's too much weird IT guy energy in this song that I needed to go with the more esoteric
Okay,
covers.
yeah.
So this last one is uploaded by someone named Metachlorian on SoundCloud.
So that,
Shuffle was on
So again-
and thought this would be kind of cool. Going to work on it, but didn't want to forget it. But this is called Violence Demo, kind of a Blink-182
but
cover.
also just sort of proving, again, this sort of strange theory that's been emerging in terms of the audience for this. Is this like supposed to be a play on like midi-chlorians, which was like the science that George Lucas invented to explain the Force in the prequels?
I mean, see, the fact that you know that is, again, putting you firmly in the category of violence.
Yeah.
The song fans.
Like if I look up metachlorian, it just gives me midi-chlorians. So this is like a meta play on like a shitty Star Wars reference. Something that many people feel ruined. It's,
This song is for people who think that Google Glass didn't get a fair enough shake.
wow.
And, like, those people, you know what? Much love and respect to you, but I'm just, like, baffled by everything about
How
it.
good was Glass Holes though?
Oh, man. Just that one photo of Subway.
Yeah.
The Subway employees.
Yeah.
That's, like, my favorite thing ever.
Yeah. So like that was good.
So anyway-
Thank you, Google Glass, for that.
I mean, that is why they shut it down. They're like, we peaked. Okay, so this is described as kind of a Blink-182 cover. So I don't even remember. I'm just like so weirded out by this like bizarre zone. But I think all of these people are probably Joss Whedon fans too. So I think it's all tracking as just like a cultural thing that I have nothing to do with. I think this song is just not. I'm not saying that in a hedging way. I'm saying quite literally this song is not for me.
Okay.
It's for people who like Joss Whedon, maybe.
£6 went down the drain. 1 hour's a waste of time. I'd ask if you feel the same. Still pushing that chance to try. Your breath in this cold chill. Long hair that blows side to side. You speak and make time stand still. Each time you walk right on by. Like violence, you have me here forever.
Okay, that one's literally beautiful, and I love it.
So look, here's the deal. Linux, Star Wars, Joss Whedon, and Refused all can rule.
I think as long as they're completely 100% reinterpreted to sound like a Mount Erie song, then I agree.
Yeah, okay, say, yeah.
If you take all of the signifiers of those things that make them what they are and instead turn it into some P.W. Elverum and Son ass lo-fi acoustic rock, then I'm here for it. Absolutely.
I can definitely picture Michelle Williams being very sad to that song.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And to any song.
yeah, exactly. She's
really good
so
at that one
good at
thing.
that. So, Josiah, what are your final thoughts on the song Violence by Joss Whedon?
I think when I said I didn't like it, I may have sounded too dismissive of it because I'm definitely fascinated by it. I just don't love listening to it, but I still am kind of perplexed and obsessed with it now.
Yeah. I guess I feel like on one hand, there's like my intellectual explanation for it, which is that I just feel like this is emblematic of what worked about the seemingly stupid decisions that the band made at this era, and it does feel like a total heat check, and I love that. And like they're just like knocking down threes, violence is killing, like so good. But also through this cover section, I've discovered that the reason that I feel that is because there is like a leather trench coat on my soul, and it's cozy and it looks good as hell.
And that's really all, you've been wondering what kind of coat you need to get, and there it is.
So Blake Howard from One Heat Minute, another obsessive podcast. Thank you for joining me from the other side of the world. Where in Australia are you?
I'm in Sydney, Sam. Thanks for having me, mate.
So we have like a not insubstantial Australian contingent within our own pod family, but the most vocal guy is from Wodonga. Do you know anything about Wodonga?
Albury, Wodonga. It's sort of significantly south of Sydney, country-ish town. And I didn't know rabid Blink-182 fans were in Albury, Wodonga, but yeah, go nuts. It turns out. Now, what's your impression of the people of Wodonga? Like, if I said, "Oh, I know this guy in Wodonga," you'd be like, "Oh, tough break," or like, what do Sydney people think of Wodonga people? I would just think, he's like a country boy. Oh yeah, okay. Rural guys, but not in a bad way, because Wodonga's on the way to Melbourne. It's like in between Sydney and Melbourne, so it's like one of those halfway points. Like if you were driving, it's like a 13-hour drive between Sydney and Melbourne, or 11-hour drive-ish, something like that. And if you were driving at like halfway point is Albury, Wodonga. So you're like, oh, okay, cool, here we are, Wodonga. This is it. I'm halfway. It's never good when you refer to a place as being like just between two other places. Like that's not. It's not. Hey, a great sign. Chicago is between New York and LA. So yeah, true. You can kind of be nice about it. Yeah. So I was overjoyed to discover your podcast, and I'll be honest, I'm very curious to know how your emotional journey has been, because I'm still kind of early. So I, about a month ago, was in LA for work, and I'm just going to sort of set the stage for you here. So it was my birthday. I was there with my boss. My boss didn't know it was my birthday. I'm not a big birthday guy. This is fine. I'm not like stressed about it. But we had dinner, and then he was like, he went back to the hotel, and I was like, cannabis is legal in California. So I walked to a legal cannabis dispensary and got myself like a birthday treat, and enjoyed that, and then went back to my hotel room with some potato chips, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I'm going to watch Heat. I have not watched Heat in so fucking long, and I'm in LA, and like this is the thing. And I honestly, like, it was one of those movies that I saw when I was like probably in high school, and like thought it was cool, but like I had no sort of perception of what like a good movie was versus just like a sick movie that I enjoyed. And like rewatching it as an adult in the city in this maybe slightly altered state had this just like incredible effect on my brain, where then I just like immediately was like, I need to read all about this, need to understand everything about how this like spectacular film came to be. I want to unpack it. And then immediately found One Heat Minute, where you are unpacking this movie literally minute by minute. So every episode of your podcast is a single minute of the film Heat. And there are all these various like obsessive podcasts. It's like a fun, weird little niche, but I want to know, like, for you, what was the genesis of dissecting this movie and dissecting it in the way that you decided to? So similarly, we'll talk about a fun altered state story. I'm at the Sydney Film Festival. Yeah. I'm with two of my dearest friends, Garth Franklin, who runs the great movie website Dark Horizons, and another friend, Stu Coote, who's a podcaster in Oz and a film writer. And we're sitting down, and I was actually spitballing about other projects with these guys, but they're my like trusted friends. So we'd had a few drinks, and I was talking to them about what I wanted to do, and Stu had what I can only describe, we'd had a few rums at this point. So Stu had what I can only describe as like, have you seen Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams grabs Matt Damon and sort of gives him that it's not your fault, like that kind of moment?
Yeah.
Except Stu said this to me. Like, I was talking about these projects, I was pitching them these ideas, and they were like my Dragon's Den. They just ate them for breakfast. They just was this is terrible. And so then Stu kind of grabbed me in our drunken state. Like, what do you want to do? And I said, oh, no, and I was, I wasn't being true to myself in that moment. And then finally, he like sort of grabbed me in that Robin Williams sort of way and said, what do you fucking want to do? And I said, I don't know, Stu. All I want to do is have a podcast where I talk about heat every fucking day. The problem was that he answered this like this. Now that's a podcast I'd listen to. And so what happened was, I walked away and that stuck because Heat has been my all-time favorite film, and a film that has an inescapable lore with me. Like, I did university, I studied Michael Mann in an honors thesis and wrote like a 120,000 word thesis that then got crystallized into 80,000 words about his style and his cinematic authorship. I've been writing about him for like feature articles for different publications for many years, and I just love it. I love Heat to bits. And so when I said that idea, I workshopped it with the guys, and then eventually it was like, the only Minute podcast or, minutia podcast I'd heard of was Star Wars Minute. And we then sort of said, well, what about a Heat Minute? And, obviously then the line One Heat Minute comes, and I started tackling it, and I did a proof of concept recording of like about 15 so episodes to see if it would work. And what I discovered was not only did it work, but it was like one of the most creatively fulfilling and thrilling things that I'd ever done in my life. And so it ended up being this thing which, as I'm sure you're discovering with this Blink Insanity podcast that you do, is that you totally do it from a purely selfish perspective of like, I want to do this thing because this is what this piece of art or this artist or this thing means the most to me. And what you find is that there are many, 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 many people around the world that jive with the idea and that are completely on board and, relish your commitment and your personal insanity to make this happen. And for me, it's just been like utterly jaw-dropping. It has been a 2-year project that is almost at its completion. As of today, I'm 134 minutes into a 166 minute of like pre-credits movie. So there are only 30 minutes left. So around, sort of 12 weeks to go. And it is just this incredible thing that has grown, infinitely in the time that I've started.
So there was a Star Wars kind of minute by minute podcast that was because the granddaddy of, I guess, that format. Because I know I kind of stole this idea from X-Files Files, which was like an episode by episode dissection of the X-Files. But somehow, even though we've done 2 hours about a 30-second song called Fuck a Dog, the idea of doing a minute by minute dissection of a film, even one as layered as Heat, still feels to me like it would be a weighty mental exercise. Like what was the point where you were like, oh, this is going to work? Was it doing those 15 minutes? Was there ever a point in that process where you doubted your commitment to this level of kind of granular dissection of this piece of art that you love?
No. Minute 3. I think by the third minute I was done. Like even the second, it actually might be the second or third minute. There's a moment at the beginning of Heat, you'll remember, you're a fan. Mm-hmm. Neil McCauley, the opening of the film is a train arriving. Neil McCauley exits the train, played by Robert De Niro, and he walks down the train station escalators and he walks across the street. And there's a moment where he is walking across the street to go into a hospital where he's eventually going to steal an ambulance. And he's walking through, and just before he gets into the hospital, he walks past a statue. And the statue is a statue of, a Christian statue of Mary nursing Jesus. But there's this like insane foreshadowing moment that it almost like looks like the final shot of the movie. But Neil McCauley is crossing, is illegally crossing the road late at night, and it's this foreshadowing moment. I was like, oh no, this show's going to be fun. This show's going to be like, I was like, dissecting this film, this show's going to be fun. And it literally has bloomed. I can't tell you, like, every single time people have said, oh, Blake, surely there's a minute that is going to be boring. Surely there's a minute where there's not much happening. Surely there's something. There's a scene where there's a car driving into a dilapidated and abandoned drive-in, which you would remember. There's a car driving in slowly. That conversation ended up being an hour long with a terrific critic by the name of Stephen Russell, where we talked about post-apocalyptic LA imagery and David Lynch for almost the whole hour. And then how the Lynch and Mann are kind of entangled with this sort of LA, industrialized post-apocalyptic, techno thriller imagery in a lot of their work that encounters LA. So it ended up being this amazing conversation, and that I would have thought just at face value is one of the more boring minutes in this movie. Like, not a lot really happens. It's like 2 to 3 cuts, but it ended up being one of my favorite conversations. So at no point have I felt like it wasn't worth it or it wasn't amazing. But I do agree with you. Like the weight of this movie weighs heavily on me as we approach the end.
Yeah, how do you feel like, because we talk about, for us, we're picking songs at random, but there is some acknowledgement of like, we have to, it's like a show, like you finish with the biggest hit, like there's some acceptance of where we're headed. And even though right now we're on episode 91 of 155, with some knowledge that the band is working on new material, and so like the name is going to be outdated probably sooner rather than later.
Yes.
The notion of concluding this project is also similarly, I think, like starting to weigh heavily on me. Like I find myself being I'm already a very navel-gazy person, but it's causing me to be like quite reflective on like what the process has meant and the people that have sort of come into our orbit as a result. Like you mentioned, just being shocked to find out how many people share your very specific and unsettling passion for something.
Yes.
So how are you feeling coming into these final 30 minutes, coming into these final 12 weeks?
I feel, okay, the best way I can, everything's heat in my language. So the way I would describe it is, you remember there's a moment where Vincent says to Wes Judy's Casals, he says, Neil's still here. I can feel it. And he's getting excited. Like he's just thrilled that he knows that Neil McCauley's still in the city. He hasn't made his escape. And then he thinks that he's going to get his hooks in him. And then compare that with the look on Vincent's face at the end of Heat, where the entire weight of the universe is like crumbling on it. I think that I'm somewhere in between those two feelings. Like I am insanely excited. I've recorded a few episodes ahead, so with all transparency, and I've got a really thorough booking list of like insane guests that I know are either have recorded their shows or they're coming up, and so I'm closer to that conclusion than the listener.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So all I can tell you is that I'm like, I can't believe I can't believe that this has become what the show is now. Like I can't believe it, because I've spoken to on One Heat Minute when I started, I thought it would be a 15-minute episode per minute. I'd maybe talk to a few film critic friends and some other interesting folk. This show is, the average episode length is like nearly an hour for every minute that we talk. I've spoken to some of my heroes. I've spoken to Dante Spinotti, the cinematographer, Pascal Boubamé, rest in peace. Filmmakers like Joe Lynch, film critics like Manola Dargis, Matt Zola Zeitz, the editor of RogerEbert.com. Bilge Beery has come on the show twice. It's an insane lineup of like creative people who've all been drawn to this project to talk to me, and I'm kind of humbled and freaked out all at the same time. I'm like internally freaking out and also just really grateful to find, because I think, Sam, talking to you and hearing you talk about this project and hearing you talk about nearing the end, like what is also strange is when you dive into a project so heavily that has a finite conclusion, it's rare, because sometimes I think what's weird is that, you know, there's this never-ending sense of shows. Like, shows can go on forever. And I have had this very clear idea with 1 8 Minute, as I'm sure you have with, you know, Blink-155, is that you've got a finite, until they make more music, you've got a finite number of tracks that you're going to assign to each episode. And so for me, I look at it and go, I've always known that the movie's going to end, and the project's going to end. And so it's this really strange feeling of like, it's extremely creatively fulfilling and satisfying, but people are always like, what are you doing next? Are you doing every Michael Mann movie?
Right, yeah.
Are you doing that?
Do Collateral
like,
next. Do The Keep next, actually.
You know, much more likely to do The Keep than Collateral. But I would just, you know, and that's no judgment to quality as well. Like, what a fascinating series of conversations you could have about The Keep. But yeah, like, I just find it like, isn't it enough that I'm completely immersed in heat right now?
Yeah, what else do you want from me? It's interesting though. Like, my background is in, you know, TV and like also like sort of online video, and so previous to this, I had, and I sort of ostensibly still run a YouTube channel that had that like kind of just never-ending quality to it, right? And what happened was I got really burnt out on it, and sort of it kind of petered away in this fashion that I feel was kind of unfair maybe to the project. And so I agree with you. There's something sort of very exciting and unique about having a creative project such as this that you can kind of throw yourself into and know that like it is headed towards a very definite conclusion in a way that, like, you know, Josiah, my host, and I both play in bands, and like bands, you could just keep kind of going forever. You know, YouTube channels, like all those things are like sort of perpetual motion machines a little bit. And there's something very different about collapsing all of that energy into, you know, every minute of a movie or every song of a band's career.
Yeah, there's something really thrilling about, you know, there's something intimidating about starting it, because you're like, oh my God, there's 155 songs. How are we going to do them all? Like, how are we going to get there? How are we going to do the guests? How are we going to structure it? How is it going to get to the end? And then when you get closer, it's like, oh my God, this thing ends.
So what about yeah, it is. And what about the kind of people that have been drawn into your orbit? So you talked about having an opportunity to, you know, talk to people who worked on the film, talk to these other, you know, amazing film critics, but, you know, just like the everyday listeners from Wodonga who stumble across this podcast, you know, in one way or another. What's that? Because for me, that's been one of the most interesting and enriching parts of our process, is like all of these kind of amazing people that I've met who, like, as we were saying earlier, kind of share this passion. What's that been like for you?
It's been amazing. I had one great one the other day talking about the trip between Sydney and Melbourne in an earlier conversation. One of my buddies who's actually been on the show, he's a writer in Melbourne, Cam Williams. And he said, I was just talking to a guy. I'll actually see if I can read you his text message while we're talking, because it was just, it warmed the cockles of my heart, so to speak. It was like, he was like, I was speaking to a guy at work who's going to drive to Sydney on a road trip. And he goes, he said to the guy, he's like, oh, wow, that's a long drive. What's going to keep you company? And he goes, well, there's this podcast where a guy talks about heat 1 minute at a time. And he's going to start the show on the beginning of his drive, and it's 13 hours, and, you know, navigate his way probably through, I would say, about 20 episodes in that time.
That's
and I was just
amazing.
Like, it's so good. And I've had other great ones where there's like one of my sort of a frequent emailer to the show comes on, and he's actually the son of, like, his dad and his grandfather were both Chicago cops, and he's just like a you know, like an office worker or something in the middle of Chicago, and he's such a loyal and ravenous listener of the podcast, and sends me such great tidbits and articles and things like that, and little things, just about everything on the show that I couldn't love more. I've had, the head of Sydney Film School is coming on for an episode by the name of Michael McLennan. Recently, he got turned onto the show by students in his class. They're like, he was in the middle of like dissecting a scene from Schindler's List as part of, you know, talking about filmmaking craft. And a couple of guys are like, oh, you know, this is just like that show.
Oh, amazing.
And I'm like, that's so great. So we gave him a shout out on the show. So there's some really weird ones like that that have just been amazing. And you know, even some guests, you know, I'm quite close with a film director Anthony Maris, a up-and-coming Aussie filmmaker. He's from South Australia. He recently made the movie Hotel Mumbai with Dev Patel and Armie Hammer. I think it's just come out in the States. It's definitely out in Australia now. It's about the terror attacks that happened in Mumbai. Mm-hmm. And he's a terrific filmmaker, and I've known him since he was making short films. But he was just out to dinner with another filmmaker the other night, and Anthony has the habit of, and this is why we became friends, of like just inserting heat dialogue into just sentences about the day. Like he'll just do that, and someone's like, "Oh, I love Heat. It's like my favorite movie ever." And he goes, "Oh, you should listen to my buddy's podcast." And so then people reach out because they've met someone who's been on the show or whatever, and just said, "I can't believe that I didn't know that this existed." And yeah, it's been incredible, man. It's just I'm when people know about the show, I'm really honoured and chuffed, and when people respond to the show and deeply, it impacts them. And especially when people are like, I've been listening to you for 135 episodes. I'm like, aren't you sick of me yet?
And it's a lot of time to spend with somebody, right? It's a trip.
It's a trip. It's an absolute trip. So yeah, it's just incredible. I would just say it's moving, and I try. It's so weird. I don't mean to downplay it in any way, shape, or form, but like I actually struggle thinking about it, because it's like you have a deep connection with folk who are listening, and it's like, at the end of the day, all you want to do is continue making great stuff that people are excited about. And I find that if I'm the guy who loves it, then the people who love this show are going to equally love it.
Yeah, I think people kind of connect with passion, right? That's just sort of...
Yes, that's the universal.
Totally. Now, I noticed earlier you said Blink 155, so that means you definitely say Blink 182, right?
Yes.
So this is like this whole weird thing where I think it's like Australia and maybe the UK, because like I had never heard that in my entire fucking life. We've always called them Blink 182. That's like Canada, where I'm from, and the US, like everyone I've ever met. And then all of a sudden when we started doing this podcast, it was like you discover, like a year into it too, finally someone was like Blink 182, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm sorry, that's how I grew up with it. It's Blink 182.
That's fine. I mean, it's not your fault. You were raised wrong. Now, I
That's
basically...
literally not the first time someone said that to me.
I believe you. I reached out to you, like, basically to talk about this sort of shared experience of doing these kinds of obsessive podcast, creative dissection projects. But I obviously do need to know, because this is a podcast about Blink
182, yeah.
What your relationship to the band is like. Are you a fan? Do you give a shit? Where do they sort of sit in your in your life?
Huge formative band for me. Like I was like my friends and I probably, I think all of us owned, listened to, trashed, and had to re-buy copies of Dude Ranch. Like that was our lives.
Right, just like fully worn out.
Just completely, back in the day when you had a Sony Discman, like where you would walk around with it, and they didn't actually have shock absorbers. For people who don't even know what a Discman is, it was like after the Walkman.
You didn't even get the like 5-second memory or whatever they had. Yeah.
No. So yeah, I didn't have one of the good ones, and so at the time I had like a cheapo version of that, and if you walked along to ferociously or quickly, it would bounce around and your CDs would get trashed, and so you'd have to re-buy them, especially if you're listening to them to death. So like, all those big songs off of Dude Ranch and those early records were like, they were really formative for me into high school. You said you and your co-host were in bands. I was in a band in high school, a couple of little bands, and playing. I think a huge transitional phase for anyone who's like playing in a band, and especially a rock band, is like punk music is so fun and ferocious and percussive that you just like, you learn how to play punk songs first because they're super fast. They're usually pretty easy.
The bar is low.
The bar is low, right? In a lot of those instances, but also they move, like they move you, and they're kind of that, that was huge. That they were a big one for me. But even as recently, it's so funny when you reached out. I feel like everyone that, I don't know, maybe it's me just being in the middle of this project, but it's like there's a lot of osmosis that happens. Sometimes you throw a thought out into the universe, and literally I went to my cousin's wedding like in October, and they had a guy covering I think they gave him the script of like, we want you to cover like 90 cool 90s songs, early 2000s 90s songs, and he ended up playing "Miss You" from the self-titled Blink 182 album.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate you pandering.
And I just forgot how much I absolutely adore that song. And so for like 3 months, I have like a running playlist because I run every day. I was listening to that song over and over and over again. So I've like gotten my love and back for Blink-182 very recently. And I think that, I was an early adopter of that age, but I'm now sort of jumping back in and, exploring some of the albums that I just haven't listened to in years because I just adore that track so much.
That song is very good. In fact, we're doing in this episode, so preceding this will have been an extensive conversation about another song from that record called Violence, because it seemed like the most logical thing to connect to Heat. So we've done all of their Los Angeles songs, including the song literally titled Los Angeles, which otherwise would have been a much better connection. So at some point I was like chatting with Josiah. I was like, what are some of the other songs that we could do? Violence is one of them. So like obviously we ended up doing Violence, but I want to see all of our other ideas for like potential Heat affiliated Blink songs. But in the end we were like, look, it's sort of a violent movie. This is that's kind of the only thing we should do. But I think you should listen to Violence. It's maybe the most Heat-esque song. Here are the other ones that I was like, these could work. Violence. Heat is very violent. Dead Man's Curve. There are a lot of dead men in the movie. Disaster, because obviously there are some disastrous bank robberies in the film. And then Just About Done, which is the kind of thing that you say as you're trying to finish your robbery. But ultimately, we settled on Violence.
Violence is good. I think Violence is good. I think anything off of LA, obviously you're so right, completely works. But there's the only other thing I would say is Just About Done just works for you and I who are just about done in these projects.
Yes.
Because we're Violence I think is totally it, but I think I'm just about done in this overall project, and it's pretty insane.
Yeah, I have an entire year left at this point, but it's still it's still weighing heavily on me. Now, do you think? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're there, man. It's you've got a year. You're in the pocket. You've done a stack of the show already. You put in the mileage.
Now, I mentioned Collateral earlier because I actually subsequently did a rewatch of Collateral this weekend, and I love that movie. One of the only things that I think doesn't work for me there is there's just some like very weird kind of needle drops in that movie, some weird soundtrack decisions. And I'm wondering if you ever can imagine a Michael Mann film where Blink would be an appropriate sound up, like where I Miss You comes in and, I don't know, Public Enemies, or, I Miss You comes in The Keep.
I think I'm trying to, I'm just trying to think of it's got to be one of his contemporary films, and I'm thinking that in Black Hat someone's listening to
Black Hat's definitely the one.
In Black Hat someone's listening to Dude Ranch on a CD in their cell in the prison at the beginning. Like that's for me where that happens, and I want that to be a track from Dude Ranch. I want someone to be like working out in their cell like Chris Hemsworth was to Josie. That would really tickle me. If there's any of your YouTube boffin supporters who want to make that happen and tag me, please do, because I would love to see that scene recut.
Amazing.
I think that could work.
I think that's a great suggestion. And then one last question. This came via Josiah, my co-host, because obviously you are, a movie guy, a movie buff.
Yes.
And I don't really, because he and I haven't talked yet, so I don't really know why he's making me ask this. But he wants me to see if you have anything to say about the 2006 film Date movie.
Date movie?
Yeah, I think it might be one of those like parody. I didn't even look this up. I think maybe it might be one of those scary movie type.
I have no. I have nothing to say other than I for the life of me can't remember seeing it because it's 13 years ago.
2006 feels like a long time ago. Yeah,
it's a long time ago. But no, that wouldn't have been on my radar for 2006. Let's have a look while we're talking. I'm going to go like 2006 movies because 2008 is like a big year. So let's go 2006
see
to
what
see
else it was competing with. That
yeah. I mean, look, he's talking about Children of Men, The Departed, Pan's Labyrinth. Like he's got it.
Damn.
Babel, The Prestige, Casino Royale.
Oh, The Prestige. That's a good movie. That was the superior magician movie for sure.
Oh, definitely. He's got a lot of competition. So date movie significantly down, significantly low on my list on that year.
I would say Date Movie and The Departed were sort of neck and neck for me personally.
Oh, come on! Don't love Jack just being Jack.
It's Jack. It's the rat at the end. I'm with the guy with the Kickstarter about the rat. That's.
Oh, look, I don't mind about the rat.
I don't care about the rat either. Like Scorsese's not a subtle filmmaker.
No, and also the whole movie. This is me really geeking out. If you watch the 1930s Howard Hawks Scarface, there's a bunch of this entire film is like Howard Hawks Scarface transposed into racist Boston. Like that's what it is. It's Matt Damon's character is the tragic Scarface character. He even buys an apartment so he can see the golden thing as opposed to a globe that says the world is yours. So it's and when you see Martin Sheen fall out, spoilers, when he falls off the building, he falls past.
Not cool. Spoiler-free zone.
13 years ago, spoilers. He falls past the windows, and all the windows have crosses in them. And Hawks used to do that. He'd put crosses and X motifs in windows and things like that. So it's just a big gushy love thing. And the rat is sort of him being as flagrant as and obvious as possible. But the whole movie is flagrant and masculine, obvious. It's great.
Damn, Blake, you really are a nerd, huh?
I am. That's exactly what everyone should take away from the show.
Yeah, so obviously people can enjoy the true depths of your nerdiness on your podcast on One Heat Minute. Is there anything else that you would like to promote here at the end of another Obsessive podcast?
No, look, I just want to say a huge thank you for inviting me on the show. I adore coming on to chat with another fellow obsessive, and hello to all you Blink 182 Australian fans and 182 fans for the rest of the world. I just listen to One Heat Minute if you love Michael Mann's movie if you love Michael Mann's movie Heat, or just even his entire oeuvre. Check out the show. We're going to be dropping episodes 135, 36, and 37 this week. It's a stacked lineup of amazing folks talking to me about Heat.
Hell yeah. People just got to get in their cars and drive from Sydney to Melbourne to start catching up.
Yeah, you'll need a few of those. There's a lot of hours to catch up.
6 passes way down the drain. 1 hour's a waste of time. I'd ask if you feel the same. Still pushing the chance to try. Your person this scroll chill. Long headed from side to side. You speak and make time stand still. And each time you will